Bakit tumabot ka sa barangay? Labusan na po ang
We are the Philippine-Kenyan Education Network.
We seek to promote international social well-being by taking actions and developing a culture of research and excellence in teacher education through capacity building, policy engagement, and other activities in areas of common interest.
We are Silliman University, University of Nairobi, Negros Oriental State University, Masinde Mulero University of Science and Technology, Kenyatta University, Foundation University, Moi University, St. Paul University of Dumaguete, and University of Cabianga. We are PEN. We are two countries committed to building competence and character in teacher education. We are PEN. We write synergy. We write excellence. We are the Philippine-Kenyan Education Network. Be one of us. Be a PEN.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin. Please keep your audios and videos off. During the Q&A portion, kindly type your questions in the chat box. The format will be shown later. Before leaving the conference, please do not forget to click and fill out the survey. The survey link will be shown on your screen later. Also, we are humbly asking for your cooperation by staying until the end of the event. Thank you.
Kindly change your names in Zoom. Complete instructions are given below your screen. Thank you very much.
Nagkakampag man eh.
Ang ligaya na may mga
Good afternoon, fellow students, teachers, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from Dumaguete City here in the Philippines. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you who are virtually present today. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join the first ever Student Teachers Congress brought to you by the Philippine-Kenya Education Network. Again, from this side of the world here in the Philippines, welcome and mabuhay.
Greetings from the Republic of Kenya, Nairobi, and welcome to the first Student Teacher Conference. I'm excited to host this great event, and I hope it will be insightful and of benefit to each one of us. Again, from this side of the world, I say Karibu Sana.
To formally introduce our host from the Republic of Kenya, she is a fourth-year student at the University of Nairobi. She is taking up Bachelor of Education in History and Religious Studies, currently on her teaching practice at Solomon High School. Let us give a warm virtual welcome to Miss Gloria Kingo.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce my co-host from Philippines. He's a fourth-year student awaiting graduation, pursuing Bachelor of Secondary Education in English. He's halfway to finishing his internship within the year. He's none other than Mr. Jonah Ala. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Now, would you please do the honor of giving our participants a glimpse to the very purpose of today's gathering? What is at stake for everyone?
Today marks the first Student Teachers Conference between two countries, that is Philippines and Kenyan universities. The aim of Philippine-Kenya Education Network is to promote competence and character in teacher education through capacity building, policy engagement, among other activities and areas of common interest. We will be having speakers from Kenya and Philippines who will be sharing their teaching internship experiences during COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me also to recognize the presence of the founding president of Philippine-Kenya Education Network. That is President Dr. Gina Fonte John Ponyo, feel recognized. I know we are all eager to listen to the insightful speeches and experiences of our esteemed speakers. Welcome all.
There you have it. I'm sure that everyone is very excited. Thank you very much, Gloria. Without further ado, let's begin. To start with, let's put ourselves in the holy presence of God. To lead us in an opening prayer, please welcome Ms. Jacinta Iyaya of Kenyatta University. All right, I think we are having a technical problem from Ms. Jacinta Iyaya's end.
Okay.
Do we have Jacinta Iyaya already there?
Let us pray. Tuombe. Baba, katika jina la Yesu Kristu, tunakabidhi mikononi mwako kikao hiki cha kwanza cha PEN, kongamano la wakufunzi na wanafunzi wanaosomea ualimu. Tunashukuru kwa kila mmoja wetu. Tunasema asante kwa kutuwezesha kuwa mahala hapa. Tunapojadiliana, tunaomba uwe kati yetu. Shusha Roho wako Mtakatifu ili atawale roho zetu, nyoyo zetu na hata akili zetu. Tunaitisha uwepo wako utuangaze patupu petu ili tuweze kutekeleza yote ambayo tumekusudia katika mkutano huu. Kwa hivyo tunatangaza kuwa hii ndiyo siku aliyoifanya Bwana, tuishangilie. Ni katika jina la Yesu Kristu tunaomba tukiamini. Amina.
Thank you for that wonderful prayer. Now that everyone is ready, let's hear a welcome address from a lecturer at the University of Kambianga in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, a virtual round of applause for Miss Clara Lagat. Ma'am, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jonah Allah. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the Congress, and I will share my screen just a bit. Yes. Okay. I will. Sorry about that. I would like to introduce the Congress to you. And this morning, we have the first student Congress. Just a minute, I just want to share something with you. Just a minute, allow me to just share something. Yes. So, good morning, East Africa. Good morning, Asia. I take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to this Congress. Bonjour à tous et bonjour à toutes. Our distinguished speakers, our colleagues in the Faculty of Education in various universities, our esteemed students and all participants, thank you for finding time and money to be present in this Student Teachers Congress. We are pleased to have you today, and we are heartily welcoming you. Karibuni. This Students' Congress is a resultant of the MOU between 4 Philippine universities and 5 Kenyan universities. If you look at this, this is one of the 9 universities. And we are very pleased to be having this first Congress as a result of the MOU that we have established between the 5 Kenyan universities and the 4 Philippine universities. One of the objectives of the MOU, ladies and gentlemen, is to facilitate and foster collaboration between the universities on a non-exclusive basis in areas of common interests, particularly as regards education, capacity building, research, policy, engagement, and practice. It is important to note that this Student Teachers Congress, honorable participants, is part of this agenda. 5 Kenyan universities and the 4 Philippine promote active participation of undergraduate students in academic-related activities. Dear participants, today we focus on teacher education and training in general and the students' teachers' internship, or the so-called teaching practice in particular. And so the theme of this Students' Teachers Congress is Teaching Internship Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic, Practices and Perspectives. In today's Congress, we are privileged to have Professor Kisulu and Dr. Kodivila, who will present to us the student teaching policies and guidelines in Kenya and the Philippines, respectively. We also have 3 students who will share their experiences, reflections, and perspectives. Dear participants, I believe this webinar will provide great insight on student-teachers internship or practical. Once again, on behalf of my colleagues from the 9 universities, I welcome you to this Congress. Karibuni, and thank you for your participation. Karibuni, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Clara Lagat, for giving us welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Dr. Consolation Unabia, who is the Dean at the College of Liberal Arts Education at Colegio de Santa Catalina, the Alexandria, Philippines, to give us the forum guidelines. Doctor, welcome.
Welcome to this platform, everyone. I am Dr. Consolacion Onabia from Colegio de Santa Catalina de Alejandría, Philippines. I shall take you through the forum guidelines. To start off, Dr. Maricar Flores from St. Paul University, Dumaguete, Philippines, and Dr. Norbert Basueti, University of Nairobi in Kenya, will introduce our 2 guest speakers for the Student Congress. And these 2 speakers shall each address us for approximately 15 minutes. This will be followed by an introduction of the student panelists by Jonah Alar and Gloria Kingo. Each of the student panelists is allotted 15 minutes. This is followed by an open forum moderated by Jonah Alar from Silliman University and Gloria Kingo of the University of Nairobi. The open forum will allow the audience to engage the speakers for approximately 15 minutes. All questions must be written on the chat box with the following format: name, country, question, and name of speaker to whom the question is addressed. In the interest of time, student moderators will review the questions and read commonly raised questions or questions that directly relate to the presentations. These questions will be answered by the speaker to whom is addressed, but other panelists may add their thoughts and insights of the question. After the open forum, we shall have a synthesis of the responses by Patrick John Aguto from Kenyatta University. Closing remarks and acknowledgements will be made by our PEN President, Dr. Gina Bunyor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Consolacion Unabia. Now, the first batch of speakers will be coming from our teachers. Again, we will get to learn the respective policies and guidelines on teaching internship here in the Philippines and there in Kenya.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us have Dr. Maricar Flores, who is the Dean at the College of Arts, Sciences and Education at St. Paul's University, Dumaguete City, Philippines, to bring to us our first speaker, Karibu Daktari.
Thank you. Fuck. Hindi tumba na sa namba hivi.
Good morning. This is Dr. Becky Sander, taking the place for Dr. Maricar, who is slightly absent, and I'll take the opportunity to introduce Professor Ann Kisilu. First of all, I want to say good morning to everyone. Hamjambo sana, Philippines. Good morning, Kenya. Habari ya jioni na karibu sana to PEN. I'm excited this morning to introduce our guest, Professor Anne S. Kisilu. Is an associate professor from Moi University. She is an associate professor of curriculum studies. She holds a PhD and a master's in education in curriculum studies. She's currently the chair of curriculum. I hope I'm in the meeting. Yes, thank you. Okay. Am I in? Thank you. Okay, I'd lost network. Thank you. I'll continue introducing Professor Anne Kisilu. She is the chair, Department of Curriculum, Instruction and Educational Media in Moi University, and supervised many postgraduate students. In addition of being part of postgraduate research works, she has published several books in referred journals and authored several books and book chapters. Professor Kisilu has classes and workshops. She English and literature in high schools and teacher training colleges in Kenya. Her academic and research interests are on curriculum design, development, and implementation in higher education, gender, English language, and early childhood education. This probably looks brief, but I do not think that our professor is brief. So allow me to welcome Professor Kisilu to take the floor. Professor Karibu Sana, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I don't know whether I have the right to share the screen. Yeah, thank you very much, the organizers of this conference. I hope I am clear.
Yes, we hear you loud and clear, Dr. Kisilu.
We hear you.
Thank you very much. I don't have the rights for screen sharing. If I can be given the rights that I can share the screen kindly.
We request the tech team to please make Dr. Kisilu co-host. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I have started screen sharing. I hope it will be there. Yeah, I take this opportunity to appreciate the organizers of the PEN conference. I also appreciate Sandra from Kenya for the introduction that she has made. I also appreciate all the participants in this workshop for this Students' Congress. And I want to appreciate even my students who have logged in for this Students' Congress, including my colleagues at the department and at the school, and everyone who is participating today. My names are Professor Anne Kisilu, as you have been informed, and I'll take around 10 to 15 minutes to share my experiences and the practices of student teaching practicum in Kenya, including the policies and guidelines in place. It is my hope that you can hear me and that you can see the screen that I am sharing. Yeah, so my presentation is entitled Policies and Guidelines and Practices on Student Teaching Practicum in Kenya, with particular emphasis to Moi University, Kenya. The aims and purpose of student teaching practicum, as we all know, is to provide practical experiences in a classroom and a school setting. Student teaching practicum in Moi University is housed in my department, of which I am the chair. We coordinate the teaching practice, and before the students go for teaching practice, we prepare them by taking them through teacher education courses, teaching methodology courses, etc., etc. So the main aim actually is the practical experience, which we achieve through application of knowledge and skills, practical mentorship, coaching, development of professionalism, apprenticeship, and also deep learning. In Kenya, we have various policy guidelines that guide us on student teaching practicum in Kenya. One of the guidelines and policies in place is the Commission for University Education Standards and Guidelines for courses and programs. In Kenya, the Commission for University Education is the regulatory body for universities, and they have guidelines that they have issued to every university to guide the development of our programs and courses, teaching practicum included. We also have guidelines by the Teachers Service Commission. The Teachers Service Commission is the blowing body of our graduates in Bachelor of Education. They employ teachers for our country, and they have their own guidelines pertaining teacher education for our country. And they give us guidelines pertaining the subjects that the schools need. Apart from that, they also guidance on how to combine the teaching subjects and various other guidelines on how to conduct the teaching practicum and the teacher education program in general, so that it can meet the needs of the learners and the needs of the society. In Kenya, we also have the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. It is the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development that prepares the curriculum and the syllabus for schools in Kenya. When we are preparing the students for teaching practicum and teacher education in general, we have to consult the syllabus, or we have to be in tandem with the syllabus that is being offered in our schools. The reason being, we are preparing the students to go and teach in these schools. So the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development comes in at hand. Apart from that, we have the quality standards and guidelines that guide various universities. For our case, we have the Moi University Quality Standards and Guidelines for our university programs and courses. So generally for the teaching practicum, these are the four main policy guidelines that we use from these institutions: the Commission for University Education, the Teacher Service Commission, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and the Moi University Quality Standards and Guidelines. Yes, so I've seen that the CUE, the Commission for University Education, gives us guidelines
Probably Professor's network is giving her problems as we wait for her to rejoin. I think we were learning from her, especially for our Philippine guests, student teachers. She was letting us know how the Kenyan system works in education. She was talking about Kenya Institute of Curriculum. It is the sole institute that the curriculum is developed, especially for early years. That is from grade 1 up to grade 12. But for the universities, it's different. I think she's about to get there, and I can see that she's trying to join us. First, she's trying to join us. We have problems with the network in Kenya, so you bear with us. I think Professor is in. Thank you. Professor?
Thank you, Dr. Isanda, for summarizing the talk of Professor Ann. She's already in. Dr. Kisilo, you may proceed.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. I hope you can see the screen. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to the network, and I was thrown out of the meeting. So those are the policy guidelines, the CUE guidelines, the TSC guidelines, the KICD guidelines, and the Moi University Quality Standards and Guidelines. And all these guidelines the emphasis is on application and practice of learning experiences in a practical situation. I want to mention the practices and the experiences that we have in Kenya for the student teaching practicum. So for the student teaching practicum, these are the practices. The students go through the preparation for instruction or planning for instruction, in which they prepare schemes of work, lesson plans, etc. The students go through the lesson delivery techniques, the selection and delivery of content, the selection and use of instructional methods, the sequencing of activities, class management and control, and all these are very useful in the teaching profession. Apart from that, the students also perfect their skills on learner motivation, application of content to real life, stimulus variation techniques, skills to enhance learner participation, skills on instructional assessment, skills on how to deal with the learners' differences, and then the marking of assignments and exams, grading of learners, preparation of teaching timetables, professional issues, maintenance and preparation of school registers, and also remedial teaching. So when we take students out there, they are able to perfect all these skills, which are very important in the teaching profession. During our teaching practicum with our students, these are some of the methods that we use to deliver or to carry out the teaching practicum. There is the practical teaching by the student teachers. Then the instructors assess the students from time to time, and they guide them and mentor them and coach them. Then we have consultations also with regular teachers for further mentorship and coaching. The materials and the resources that we use are the writing bones in the classroom, the textbooks, the schemes of work, the lesson plans prepared by the students, the teaching aids, the timetables, the class registers, and also the computers. We also do the assessment in such a way that we give 30% for a project report writing activity, and then we do 70% of the total marks for the assessment of the practicum. So I also want to mention that our students undertake the courses on teacher education first at the university prior to the practicum. We give them 3 academic years to go through the teacher education courses. That after that year now, that is when we send them out for the practicum. Apart from that, we assess our students twice in each of the 2 teaching subjects. Our students specialize in 2 teaching subjects, and then we do the average of the score for all the assessments that have been done. Our instructors carry out the pre- and post conferences with the student teachers before and after the assessment session. In the pre-conference, this one, it is meant for familiarization, the understanding of the expectations, and also to create a positive perception between the for the student teacher, and also to have the exercise go on smoothly without perception issues. Then we have the post-conference, which includes the oral discussions, the demonstrations, and the guidance after the assessment has been done. That our teaching practicum area is big. So we have subdivided the teaching practicum area into sub-zones with an instructor attached in each zone for closer monitoring and consultation. But the students don't have to travel all the way to the university for consultations with the instructors. So the instructors go to centers nearer the schools where the students can be able to consult them and meet them from time to time. I want to mention the practices and the experiences that we have had amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In Moi University and Kenya in general, just like other countries, it has not been easy for us in teacher education. In the year 2020, we had to end the student teaching practicum prematurely. The practicum was running from January to April 2020, but we had to shorten it with around 3 weeks because of the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we had managed to assess most of the students in the teaching subjects at least twice in some, once in others, so it was not very bad, but we ended it prematurely. After that, we embarked on what we can call a crash program for online instruction for mitigation for our students. Then the student teacher preparation for this year again has taken longer to complete due to the university closure in March. So we were progressing as we were preparing our students for the teacher practicum, which will begin in July this year, but we had to end it again prematurely. There were some disruptions because the university closed, when the learning institutions closed in Kenya. Then another experience is that we have had to break lunch classes into smaller groups to allow social distancing for our teacher preparation. We also have limitations of lecture rooms at times when we break them into the larger class into smaller groups. We also have limitations of instructors for the many groups in cases of understaffing. And then the whole idea of manual preparation and assessment of teaching aids. We have been doing manual preparation of most of our teaching aids, especially the charts. But because of the fear of the contact, because of the virus, this one has affected the manual preparation of teaching aids. So we have resorted to digitalization of materials, e-submission of assignments, and online instruction for the theory lessons. We also have many challenges in our student teaching practicum, especially in the secondary schools now where we send the students. For instance, in Kenya, we lack policy guidelines for e-learning for secondary schools. Although most of the secondary schools resulted to covering of the syllabus from March to December 2020 through online instruction, we realized that we lack a policy guideline in Kenya for e-learning for secondary schools. There were crash programs by various student teachers to cover the syllabus and to finish up they assigned topics through online instruction for mitigation, but we realized that there were many challenges at play. For instance, there was lack of electricity. Some students complained of lack of electricity in their homes. Lack of internet connectivity challenges were noted. The cost of internet bundles was noted by some students. We have students who are coming from very needy family backgrounds, and so the purchase of internet bundles is not very easy for them. Some students also complain of lack of e-gadgets. The secondary school students, some of them, we could see in most of the WhatsApp forums where parents, where we are registered as parents of various schools, where parents were complaining that teachers are teaching online, but my child does not have a smartphone, leave alone a laptop or a tablet. So e-gadgets were a challenge and are still a challenge. We also experienced a challenge on teacher competencies and skills for online instruction for our students on teaching practicum and even for the instructors at the university. So we embarked on crash programs to retrain and retool our lecturers on online instruction skills. Right now, they are better off and we have really improved, but in the year 2020, it was a real challenge for our teachers and instructors, but we are still conducting the retraining workshops, and we are progressing very well. But there is a challenge now on for the secondary school students, because some of our teacher trainees that were there for teaching practice practicum did not have very good skills. They are not polished their skills on online instruction, because in most of the cases, our teacher education was centered on face-to-face teaching in the secondary school classroom. Then we also have limitations of facilities and human resources in some of the schools in Kenya, when we have to break the lunch classes into the smaller classrooms. Sometimes classrooms are not very many, lecture rooms are not very many. In the secondary schools, again, this limitation is also there. It is not easy to break the classrooms in the secondary schools because of the limitations of the number of classrooms and also limitations of the number of teachers. And again, this is affecting the social distancing as a mitigation measure for COVID-19. Then we also have students and teachers mental health issues. And I think this is global. Most of our student teachers are so stressed, they have a lot of fear, others have lost their loved ones, others have lost their lecturers, and it is not easy. When you go to the secondary school, very many mental health issues have been mentioned. Secondary school students, some of them have lost their parents. They don't have breadwinners. They don't have guardians to take care of them. Others have lost their very mentor, who is the principal of the school. Others have lost teachers. It is not easy. So we also have mental health issues that we are dealing with in our schools, and we are trying to beef up guidance and counseling in secondary schools for the sake of our student teaching practicum so that it can be smooth, and also in our university. So generally, these are the policy guidelines for Kenya. And I want to mention that we have various emerging issues now on student teaching practicum in Kenya. Most of our universities, we are currently revising or reviewing our teacher practicum courses together with other programs, because we have a new curriculum that is being implemented in schools for Kenya. That is the competency-based curriculum. So we are retooling our teachers, we are revising our curriculum so that we align it to the CBC or the competency-based curriculum for Kenya, so that we prepare our students adequately to go and teach in our secondary schools. Some of the measures that we are putting in place is that we want to embark on longer practicum sessions, at least 2 school terms, to allow the students to take longer in the community or in the school for skills development and deep learning. we are also looking forward towards a assessment by subject teachers and ends of departments in the schools, so that we strengthen the university school linkages or the School of Education and secondary school linkages by allowing the subject teachers there and the heads of departments there assess our students so that we can have closer mentorship and stronger mentorship and coaching for our students. We also want to enhance, we are moving towards an enhancement on ICT integration in education, because at the moment we have realized that we need to have policies on e-learning for secondary schools, policies on ICT integration, which are a bit enhanced and strengthened so that we can be able to teach our students on teaching practicum, and also be able to conduct some of the lessons with secondary school students online if need be. Then we are also reviewing our teacher practicum curriculum for competencies and skills development, which is an enhancement through longer practicum sessions and also teaching methodologies, a review on our teaching methodologies so that we can prepare students very adequately in the various skills on teacher education. Finally, we are strengthening our guidance and counseling in various secondary schools in Kenya and also in our universities because of the mental issues that have come into play as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So participants and organizers, these are the experiences that I can bring on the floor for today for Kenya, the policies and guidelines and the practices that we are having in place for our student teaching practicum. Otherwise, thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope I've not gone beyond the 15 minutes. And thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ann Casilo. May we request our host, Gloria and Jonah, to now introduce the next person who will be presenting our speaker from the Philippines. Jonah and Gloria. All right, at this point, I see Dr. Basueti. Yes, go ahead, Gloria. Take it away.
I'm sorry, the host had muted me and Jonah. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity and thank Prof. Ann Kisilu for giving us the national policies here in Kenya. And now to introduce Dr. Norbert Basweti, who is going to bring to us our next speaker. As one of the founder members of Philippine-Kenya Education Network, Dr. Basweti is a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, where he has been teaching communication skills and linguistics for the last 14 years. He has doctorate from Stellenbosch University, South Africa. His interests include health communication, professional communication, African languages, linguistics, and argumentation studies. Kindly, Prof. Norbert, welcome to give us our next speaker. Thank you.
Dr. Basuete, Norbert. May we request the tech team to ensure that Dr. Norbert Basueti's mic is on. Thank you. Gloria, am I audible? Could you hear me? Gloria, could you hear me?
I think, ma'am, Dr. Basweti's microphone is muted.
Yes, Yes, Jonah, I've already introduced Dr. Basweti, but the host is muting me and Jonah.
Our tech team said that Dr. Basweti is co-host and therefore he can unmute himself. Dr. Basweti, kindly type in the chat box if you are not able to mute yourself. Kindly unmute. May I request the tech team? The Dr. Basweti is saying that he is not able to unmute himself. Dr. Basweti is requesting that he be able to unmute himself. May we request Ma'am Alfie and the rest of the tech team to please allow Dr. Basweti audio privilege. Thank you. Dr. Basweti, hello ma'am. Dr. Basweti cannot.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for the network, the host challenges, I think. I was trying to unmute myself and not able to unmute myself. I'm here to introduce Dr. Laurette Codevilla, a faculty member of the College of Teacher Education and Graduate School of Negros Oriental State University, Dumaguete City. Before joining the university in 2017, Dr. Codevilla spent 20 years of her teaching career in Foundation University, where between 2011 and 2017, she served in different positions such as school director, later supervising principal for the Foundation Preparatory Academy, later on ESL director, and later program chair for the Masters of Arts in Education and Doctor of Education programs and Dean of the College of Education. Her research interests include pre-service teacher training and the impact of technology in instructional delivery. She has participated in a number of collaborative research engagements, the latest entitled Students' Attitudes Towards Electronic Learning in Relation to Their Learning Styles and Academic Performance, was published in the IIRC Book of Abstracts in 2019. Presently, she serves as the OIC Dean of the College of Teacher Education and chairperson of the Bachelor of Secondary Education program in the same department. So join me in welcoming Dr. Laurette Codevilla to give her presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Baswete. I hope I am audible.
You are, yes.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
I will now be sharing my screen.
All right, we see it now. Thank you.
Okay, so from the Philippines and from Dumaguete City, I'd say maayong hapon. That's how we greet you. Good afternoon. So today I'll be giving you this very brief talk. It's not going to be longer than 15 minutes, hopefully. This is on the joint memorandum issued by the Commission on Higher Education. This is the body that supervises the operations of higher education institutions in the Philippines, and the Department of Education, the body that supervises the operations of basic education. This was issued last September 7, 2020, and this contained the new normal policies and guidelines on the deployment of pre-service teachers for field study and teaching internship for AY 2020-2021. Now, in this particular memorandum, there are, however, I'll be concentrating on just the task for student teaching. Now, in this particular memorandum, there are 10 teaching learning activities designed and outlined for student teaching. I'd like to begin by number 1, and this is on the observation of classes, pre-observation and post-observation conferences. Because this was already during the time of the pandemic, the student teachers were expected to be familiar in the process of flexible learning and in different distance learning delivery modes, especially of the schools where they are assigned to. So this can be, the modes can vary from online, full online, radio-based instruction, television-based instruction, and other modalities, such as schools that are having the distance learning modality via printed modules. Student teachers are also expected to attend conferences. No? These are pre-observation conferences and post-observation conferences with their cooperating teacher. The cooperating teacher is the mentor from the partner school that the student teachers are assigned in, and of course, the college supervisor. They are also to keep a daily reflection journal just to document their experiences in the field. The second teaching learning activity is on class routines. So student teachers are being oriented on protocols for classes in the learning modality employed by the school. So for instance, if the student teacher is assigned to a school that uses the distance learning modality of printed modules, he has to know when are the days for the distribution and retrieval of the modules, and what are they to do in between. If it's going to be a school that utilizes full online instruction, the student teacher has to know what platform is being used in the school so that he can train or retrain himself in the said platform. Another task is for the student teachers to assist the cooperating teacher in the preparation and implementation of class guidelines for holding classes through distance learning modalities. Our third TLA is on the preparation of instructional materials. So of course, our student teachers are expected to assist their cooperating teachers in the preparation and presentation of learning materials to be used in classes. So if it's an online class, the student teachers have to assist their mentors in the preparation of PowerPoint presentations or Google Slides and the like, or in researching for the most appropriate video clips that are necessary, especially for science classes. They are also to develop contextualized instructional materials appropriate for the demonstration teaching modality. Now, it has to be noted that even if the school utilizes the modular learning modality, the practice teacher is not required to print the modules and spend money on his own because the cooperating school takes charge of that. Teaching learning activity number 4 is on class activities. And this time, the student teacher is expected to assist the cooperating teachers in preparing class activities, facilitate learning delivery mode class activities with minimum supervision from the cooperating teachers, especially for the conduct of online classes. So they are just instructed, they know what lessons to cover, and the student teachers are expected to deliver the online classes with minimum supervision. They are also expected to design contextualized learning activities aligned with the most essential learning competencies. Now, the MELCs are really learning competencies that are very useful for the learner in his everyday life and for his future profession. So think, for instance, of research skills, This is a very essential learning competency across subject areas. So the MELCs really serve as the Department of Education's basis in the choice of what is the most appropriate learning delivery mode to be used in their particular area, in consideration of technology, in consideration of the kinds of learners that they have. Number 5 is on assessment practices. Student teachers are expected to assist the cooperating teacher to create assessment materials related to the lessons applicable to various distance learning delivery modes. So whether it's online or modular, the student teachers are expected to assist and help out in crafting the necessary assessment materials. They are also to design templates for various assessment tools with suitable scoring rubrics and also reflection activities on the teaching learning process. And most especially, they are expected to assist their cooperating teachers in the checking of students' outputs. So this is especially very true if the distance delivery mode of the school is via printed modules. Moving forward, we have teaching learning activity number 6, which is on demonstration teaching. So our student teachers are expected to prepare lesson plans, study guides, modules, and other teaching materials relevant to the LDM of the partner school as required by their cooperating teacher, and then conduct daily and final demonstration teaching using the learning delivery mode of the partner school. So in Norsu main campus, the final demonstration of the practice teacher will be pre-recorded if the student teacher is assigned to a school that uses the delivery mode of printed modules. So this can be taken while the practice teacher is conducting reinforcement activities with learners who find challenges in answering modules. But if the practice teacher is assigned to a school that uses either the blended mode or full online instruction, as one school is using in the Department of Education, then the final demonstration is via Zoom. Number 7 is on school forms. And student teachers are expected to assist and help out in accomplishing the many school forms that are due, especially towards the end of the classes in the Department of Education. By the way, in the Philippines, DepEd classes will close come July 10. And so our student teachers are expected to help out in all of the forms that needed to be accomplished. Number 8 is on networking and linkages. Our student teachers are to assist their cooperating teachers in parent-teacher conferences. Now, this can be done online, or in the case of schools that are using the modular type of delivery, then this come in handy during retrieval and distribution of modules where the student teachers get to see the parents, get to talk with them, and really follow up on what is happening with their learners. They are also expected to provide support by being volunteer tutors as part of auxiliary service in partner schools. So should their help be needed in the extension services, such as, again, I mentioned this, reinforcement activities, then they have to do that. The student teachers are also expected to participate in local and international webinars and other online professional activities, such as what we are having now. And for our school, for instance, the student teachers are required to attend at least 50 hours of webinars especially in their field of specialization for the secondary student teachers. Number 9 is on the conduct of classroom-based action research. So they are expected to conduct the action research on a specific teaching learning area that they find is a challenge in the field. So usually the CBAR is done either by school or by major. It depends on the TEI or on the school. They are also expected to list references used in the CBARs following the TEI's prescribed referencing or citation styles. In the case of my school, it's APA. And then they are to share their results of the research with an audience through any available platform, and to submit the action research to the college supervisor, again, to be submitted to the research coordinator of the department for future possible publication. Now, in Norsu main campus, the action research is going to be defended online via Google Meet. And finally, number 10, this is the last teaching learning activity for our student teachers, is the preparation of their portfolio. They are expected to prepare an electronic portfolio of various teaching learning experiences and processes. And this is to give emphasis on the process rather than on the output. So the e-portfolio or the digital portfolio, however you would want to term it, really is something that should capture the journey of the student teacher in the field, especially in the time of the pandemic. And it has to be reflective of the domains in the Philippine Professional Standard for Teachers through the different learning modalities in various contexts. Now, the Philippine Professional Standard for Teachers, or PPST, is our framework that defines the competencies expected of our beginning teachers. And this particular memorandum introduces a suggested format for the portfolio, beginning with introduction, acknowledgements, curriculum vitae of the practice teacher, teaching philosophy as a beginning teacher, certificate of completion. This is now the clearance that the student teacher has to obtain from the cooperating or the partner school. And then professional readings. In the case of Norsu, it's 20 articles with accompanying summaries. Their weekly journals that should reflect their experiences, evidence, and reflections on the different PPST domains. So the various teacher education institutions in the Philippines really had to modify our processes so that we are able to come up with strategies more appropriate for the pandemic and also in respect to this memorandum. And so with that, I end my very short sharing. I hope you learned something. And from this side of the world, I'd say salamat, maayong hapon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cordevilla of Negros Oriental State University. I could see that it is quite a challenge for everyone, not just in Kenya and in the Philippines, but around the world. We are blessed because we are able to cope despite the many obstacles brought about by this pandemic. Of course, we commend our teachers for guiding us all the way. Now that we have heard from the student teaching policies of the Philippines and Kenya, let us hear from the students themselves who have had actual experiences in the field of student teaching. We will begin with a gentleman from Kenya. He is a graduating student and a teacher trainee in the field of special needs education at Kenyatta University. He believes in nurturing and molding learners with special needs to fully achieve their potential. This has been his drive, having carried along childhood memories from his classmate who had visual loss. During practicum, he was nominated as the best teacher of the term. He wishes to support his learners grow into various technological fields by innovating devices that will enable maximizing learner potential. He is currently volunteering working with learners with special needs as he awaits graduation in July this year. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a warm welcome to Mr. Walter Nyakundi.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Nyakundi Walter from Kenya, Kenyatta University. I'll be one of your speakers today. Thank you. I'd ask the host to share my screen.
While the host is transitioning, maybe you can give us a brief introduction of your talk, Walter. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. My talk will basically be about my teaching practice or practicum, actually, the second practicum. I am a special needs, I'm studying special needs in Kenyatta University. So I'm supposed to go for two fieldworks. That is one for the general teaching practice in high school, a regular high school, and one in either primary or high school for the special needs learners. So my talk will basically be on my second teaching practice, which was from January this year to March when we closed school toward the end of the month. I had different experiences between the two teaching practices that I went to. The second one was a bit challenging because we had the coronavirus pandemic, and then we also had, I also had to teach special needs students together with the regular learners in one classroom, so I faced a bit of challenges. Yeah, that's me, my school, and my topic of study, that is my student experience. That is my school, Kenyatta University, from the School of Education, the Department of Special Needs Education, which has really helped me nurture whatever I've learned in school here in the field. My next slide. Yeah, so the school that I was in for my second practicum was MPS. It is located in Kenya, in Nairobi. That was from March 2021, from January to March in 2021. I was assigned to grade 4. Grade 4 are using currently in Kenya the new curriculum. It's called CBC, competency-based curriculum. My corporate teacher was the class teacher who was handling the class before I came for my teaching practice. She was called Miss Orero, and she helped guide me in educating the learners on the new curriculum and also how I could handle different learners within the classroom, since she was aware of the needs of each of her learners that she has been with since when they were in class 1. She's moved with them until now when they are in grade 4. My supervisor was Dr. Becky Isanda. She is here. She's the one who recommended me so that I could be one of the speakers to share my experiences here. Thank you very much, Dr. I really appreciate. In my classroom, that is grade 4, I had 48 learners. Of the 48 learners, 4 learners were special needs learners, my area of specialization. They are visually impaired. 3 had low vision. That means they can see, but not that much. And 1 was totally blind. So the one learner who was totally blind would use Braille alphabet. At grade 4, they are not that conversant with Braille. So you really have to take them step by step and go with their pace, which is not that fast. You just have to go slowly, depending on the needs of the learner and depending on the subject that you're going to teach. The other 3 learners were low vision, the 3 were not on the same level of low vision. So there was one who could only perceive light, and then the others could not read their work. So they had to get their work in large print, or the work will be written on a manila paper via hand so that they could be able to see it easily. In the first weeks of my teaching practice, I had to interact with the learners so that I could get to know them. This was a bit of a challenge, having in that way in the midst of a pandemic. You have, as a teacher, you have to know your learners, at least by name, by when you see them, you can recognize them so that you can know each of your learners, their needs, their behavior, their characters, and their differences. It was really a bit challenging for me because in class, we are all required to have masks. The students need to have their masks on during class, and as a teacher, you also have to have your mask on during class. Therefore, if a student, a learner talks in class, you'll just hear the voice, but you'll not see the face very well. And having in mind that I had 48 learners, it was difficult to get to know them within a short period of time. I also had to identify the resources that needed to satisfy the learning needs of my special needs learners, or of whom I had to bring them closer to the teacher so that they could sit at the front of the class so that I could be able to get to their needs whenever I was teaching the whole class. And the resources that we used were large print texts for the low vision learners, braille machines for the one of my learner who was totally blind. Braille machines are used with braille papers, and time. Time is of essence here, simply because the time allocated during a class here is 35 minutes, and I'm supposed to handle all the learners so that and meet their needs within the 35 minutes. But for the learners with low vision and the blind learners, it's really hard to meet their needs because their pace of learning is not the same as that of the regular learners, and I really have to cater for every learner in that class. The challenge came in because the blind learner, they are not visual, they cannot see, and they cannot see braille embossments like I do or like we do see braille embossment. Therefore, they have to touch. And we are advised, because of Corona, do not touch surfaces, avoid as much as you can. After you touch a surface, wash your hands. After you touch a surface, sanitize. So for me, I had to guide the learner. I have to touch the hand of the learner so that I could guide her wherever she needed to touch the braille work that I wanted her to do. I will have to help her touch so that she could identify the alphabet that she had written wrongly, where she needed to correct her work. Therefore, it was really hard because after touching the learner, after touching the work, touching the learner, we had to like sanitize, but sanitizers are not allowed for students, so therefore they have to go wash their hands. And it's really, it was a bit of a challenge because after washing the hands, they don't dry immediately, and then you have to continue. I have also to help the other learners within the class. But all in all, I still managed to help them with the resources that were available. The resources that we had, they are provided by the government because the school that I'm in, MPS, is a public school in Kenya. We have other stakeholders who chip in from time to time to also help us get the resources we need. For example, the Kilimanjaro Blind Trust, they provide our learners with white canes for ease of movement around the school. And this was also a challenge because our learners have to touch surfaces so that they can move. They can know where a wall is, they can know where not to fall off. So they have to touch surfaces, and it's really hard to help them wash their hands again because they just wash their hands, and as they start moving, they have to touch the surfaces, and it was a challenge, but we managed to get through all the time that I was in teaching practice, to get through well. Other challenges that I had were the intermarrying of inclusivity in the work. This is because I have to work with regular teachers. The regular teachers help the learners in other subjects since I cannot handle all the subjects for the whole grade. The other teachers have to come in, help the learners, but for them, they are not like me, in that I'll have to meet the needs of my specific learners, those who are visually impaired. So they just come, they'll teach at the pace of the regular learners, and they leave behind my special needs learners who are seated there, and their needs will not be catered for after that class. Therefore, I had a challenge in intermarrying and knowing how I'd put the time limits that were set for a lesson, for meeting the syllabus requirements, and for the 48 learners, for the regular learners, and also for my special needs learners so that they could not be left behind. Time, as I said before, the time that we have is not enough for us since the learners need more time. My special needs learners needed more time than the regular learners so that they could grasp concepts that we were handling in class in the different subject areas. The other challenge that did not really affect my part, but I saw it important to come and share, is the learner enrollment issues. With the pandemic, some schools were closed, some private schools were closed. Therefore, the learners had to look for alternatives when the schools reopened in Kenya. Therefore, we had learners coming to schools asking for enrollment, but most of them, unfortunately, could not get enrolled into the schools. And it became a challenge to me because I'm like, this is a public school. You're supposed to accept these learners. It's free primary public schools. And the worst of it came to our learners with visual impairment, because we did with visual impairment in MPS. Some of them could not get chances to enroll in our school. And private schools for learners with special needs are really quite expensive, and some of the parents cannot afford that. So I really felt bad because these learners needed a chance in MPS so that they could learn well, but unfortunately, they were not able to. In meeting these challenges, because the challenges are always there despite the environment that we're in. So I had to find alternatives so that I could handle all my learners very well. I had to modify some of the teaching and learning resources. For example, when Daktari came to supervise me, she got me writing on using marker pens on Manila paper, and she was like, "What's happening?" I was like, "We don't have large printers so that we could produce work for the learners with low vision." Therefore, we had to modify physically. We had to make charts instead of exercise books, since the learners cannot see that well. We had to make charts for them so that they were able to see the large font that we used on writing on the charts. I also embraced peer teaching, team teaching. This is because the regular learners grasp concepts faster than the special needs learners. Therefore, I'd look for time and ask the regular learners to help in teaching their classmates who are visually impaired, so that they could be at par with the concepts that were taught within that day in the specific lesson. I also had to create extra time for the special needs learners. I'd squeeze some few minutes after lunch or some few minutes before games time, so that we could go through the areas they had not grasped very well. And also, I involve parents a lot, because for the parents of special needs learners, they say, I'm not trained on how to handle my kid. But as a teacher, you have the required training. Therefore, they just leave the whole burden of caring for the child to the teacher, forgetting that they also need to play a part in the learner's life, especially now that we had the COVID-19. They had to meet the needs of the learners. They had to have extra masks in the bag for them because they will misplace them. Some of them, they could get dirty because they don't see where they're placing them. They don't see where they're stepping. They could fall off and their masks will get dirty or will cut off. So therefore, I had to involve the parents fully so that they could help us in handling these learners. I also had to work at the learner space. I had to look for those who are grasping contents extra fast, and when class was going on, I'd give them a little bit much work, and then I'd go and handle these ones who are a bit slow so that they could at least grasp, especially my special needs learners, because we had to go by to adhere all the rules that we're supposed to adhere in a classroom setting together with the learners. So finally, I'd really love to say it's really challenging for us teachers at this time, especially for us who are teacher students during this pandemic. But in whatever you do, you must face a challenge or two. And as teachers, we need to come up with alternatives. We need to find ways to maneuver through these challenges. We are going on well, especially now that we have learned to live with the pandemic. We are going on well. We're interacting with the students very well. We are meeting their needs very well, and we are really trying our best. Currently, I'm in school in MPS. I'm volunteering to help the learners with special needs at the moment as I await my graduation, and I really love the experience. And I'd really love to thank all our professors and lecturers, both in Philippines and in Kenya, for the work you did for us in class. It's made us have some easy time here in the field. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for listening to me and making time to attend this. Asanteni sana from Kenya. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Mr. Walter Nyakundi, that is really incredible. It really takes heart to teach students with special needs. And personally, I have wondered how you have made it handle 48 students in a class having special needs. But also, I believe this profession is a calling, and most important is that we're giving service to God And now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me bring to you our next student teacher speaker. Our speaker is a bona fide fourth-year student from Negros Oriental State University main campus, taking up Bachelor of Elementary Education, major in General Curriculum. He's a former editor-in-chief of the school publication Studies the Meyer and the Fox Cameli during her elementary and high school years. She was elected as the vice president of the League of Campus Journalists in Negros Oriental in 2010. She's currently working as a full-time company in Dumaguete City, Philippines, while finishing a bachelor's degree in elementary education. She is none other than Leo Regine Rodriguez. Karibu sana. Karibu sana, Madam Leo Regine Rodriguez.
May we request the tech team to make sure that Leo Regine Rodriguez is able to unmute herself and is given a co-host. Thank you. And the tech team will also share the PowerPoint of Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Leo Regine.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Gloria. And good day, everyone. Can you hear me good?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue, please.
That's perfect. All right. So, good day, everyone. Now, due to the risk posed by the COVID-19, it became a great challenge for the College of Teacher Education from Negros Oriental State University to deploy our student teachers, our future difference makers, to their respective assigned schools. Next slide, please. However, since we are a catalyst of change, we will never allow the pandemic, including intermittent internet connection and constant blackouts, to hinder us from fulfilling our promise to continually produce globally competitive and responsive teachers through the best quality training inside and outside the classroom. Next slide, please. The College of Education from has successfully deployed a batch of student teachers since the pandemic into 7 different schools, including our student teachers from our continuing professional program. Next slide, please. All right. So we also have conducted student teaching orientation from the Department of Education and makes sure to continuously observe health and safety protocols. We also assist our mentors preparing, distributing, and checking of modules, and are currently preparing to conduct our first ever virtual classes. Next.
Sige, unmute. Okay na, ako na siya di-unmute.
Hi, Regine. We cannot hear you. Kindly unmute your mic. Thank you.
Yes. Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Yes, we do. Thanks a lot. Please continue.
You're welcome. So we have conducted student teaching orientation and continuously observes health and safety protocols. We also assist our mentors in preparing, distributing, and checking of modules, and are currently preparing to conduct our first ever virtual classes. Now, next slide, please. So we may face future challenges like health crisis and other unpredictable seasons, but our commitment to produce dedicated and excellent teachers will never change. All right. And the next slide, please. In the words of Abraham Joshua Heschel, to be or not to be is not the question. The vital question is how to be and how not to be. Now, we will present you a video presentation. All right, so we will present you a video presentation. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, so we will be presenting to you a video presentation of the student teaching experiences of our student teachers from main campus and the satellite campuses of Negros Oriental State University. Mayong adlaw, ug daghang salamat.
While we are transitioning to the video presentation, perhaps you could engage us, Regine, in a brief description on what the video is about. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, since Negros Oriental State University has satellite campuses from Bayawan, Bais, and from other parts of Negros Oriental, what we did is we compiled our student experiences from our student teachers from our satellite campuses so that we can share our experiences as student teachers, especially since with the the season that we're experiencing, we're currently in a pandemic, and uh, it's not easy. Intermittent internet connection and the constant blackouts, lack of gadgets, and of course, budget where we have to pay for the things that we're going to use. It is a great challenge not only for the student teachers but also for the teacher themselves. We are experiencing these challenges, but we have made sure that we take into consideration the safety of our student teachers, but we do not compromise the quality of training that we are giving them because our teachers are the difference makers. They build the future leaders of our country, of the world. So we have to make sure that we are effective and globally competent.
Thank you very much, Regine. I believe the video is already ready. May we request the tech team to please show the video from the Negros Oriental State University main campus, as well as the satellite campuses, so we can view their student teaching. At least we could have a sneak peek of their student teaching experiences. Kindly do that now. We are waiting for the video presentation. Thank you very much, Silliman University Tech Team, Silliman Online University Learning. Go ahead, please. Perhaps, Regine, we can engage you in a brief conversation. Where did you have your student teaching? Are you still going through your student teaching now?
As of the moment, I haven't been deployed yet because I'm actually working as well. But soon I'll be deployed in a few months. But I'm actually very excited. And I actually spoke with my classmates, and some of them have been deployed to the 7 schools already because I really want to like gather information, and I would like to learn from their experiences as well. And I'm actually with this video presentation, we will be knowing as well the experiences of our student teachers from the other parts of Negros Oriental, which is very exciting amidst the challenges that we are facing as of this moment. And actually, I'd like to thank our professor, Dr. Cordevilla, for her assistance, and of course, the technical team, the people behind this event. We are very happy. This wouldn't be possible without you guys. And I hope that our my fellow student teachers who are participating in this webinar will be learning a lot, since we have participants from different parts of the Philippines, Manila, Zamboanga, and of course from our friends from Kenya.
Yeah. So how was the conversation with some of your schoolmates who are already doing their demo or their um, student teaching internship? Maybe now we are ready.
Yeah, it
So
was actually pretty fun, the conversation with them. One of our, yes, yes, that would be great.
all right, thank you. So now we will have again a sneak peek of what Regine has been talking about, her conversations and observations of the student teaching experiences in the various areas, especially because Negros Oriental State University is a very big university with several campuses. So this is what we're going to see now. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Negros Oriental State University is a multi-campus and the only state university in the province of Negros Oriental, Philippines. NORSU has 9 campuses, tactically situated in the areas across the province, where 2 of its main campuses are located in Dumaguete City. The state university offers diploma, certificate, and baccalaureate and master's degree programs. It is a tuition-free university renowned for giving quality education and continually generates a lot of board passers and top-notchers yearly. NORSU was declared as the top 2 performing state university and colleges with the most number of assessed programs, including preliminary visits, and the top 4 SUC with most number of accredited programs, level 1 among the 102 SUCs in the entire Philippines. The College of Teacher Education was brought into life in the year 1995 after its separation from the College of Arts and Sciences, which was then known as the College of Arts, Sciences, and Education in 1965. The first program it offered that was still under CASED was Bachelor of Science in Industrial Education. Around June 1993, major academic program achievements occurred with the offering of Bachelor of Secondary Education, which a year after and in the same month was followed by the introduction of Bachelor of Elementary Education. NORSU has indeed come a long way, especially that we are now an institution having Center of Development for Teacher Education program. The College of Teacher Education is committed to produce globally competitive teachers through quality trainings by engaging student teachers in rich learning experiences in the classroom, field interactions, as well as research and extension services. These will equip student teachers with sound moral, physical, intellectual, spiritual, and ethical behaviors in life before they leave the portals of Negros Oriental State University. The Philippines was the first outside China to witness a death due to the novel coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan. This forced the Philippine government to impose lockdown in various parts of the country and later on declared a state of calamity as the number of COVID-19 cases increases each day. One of the sectors who suffered greatly was the sector of education. Though faced with difficulties, this sector was still able to come up with alternatives that will help in them continue to fulfill their responsibility in the midst of the pandemic. Universities and colleges in the Philippines suspended face-to-face classes and shifted to the cyberspace as an avenue for the teaching and learning process. This too has been applied in the College of Teacher Education of Negros Oriental State University Main Campus 1. Digital platforms such as Edmodo, Google Meet, Zoom, and Google Classroom are maximized in order to hone the young minds and still deliver quality education. Norsu Main Campus 1, situated beside the provincial capitol building in Dumaguete City, was able to continue its tradition in denoting a milestone and in affiliating the 103 student teachers to the honorable profession of teaching through the first ever virtual pinning ceremony in the whole Norsu system. One of the important preparations student teachers did was to engage themselves to various webinars and online trainings to better prepare themselves in utilizing e-learning tools that are vital in the creation and preparation of new assessment strategies and digitalized learning materials, as well as activities intended for the new normal setting. In addition to that, they are also reading articles related to teaching and to their specialization as part of their preparation. With the guidance of the respective faculty and staff in each school, student teachers were also informed on the things that they will be doing in coping with the new normal, such as wearing face masks and face shields inside the classroom. The mode of learning done in the school was through online learning and modular learning. Each student teacher in every area of specialization helped their mentors in preparing the tools that they need for online teaching, as well as sorting out modules that will be picked by the students' parents, since the students are not allowed to go to school. They also helped in checking the answers of the students or the outputs once the students are done with their modules. During this pandemic, student teachers have been seeking each other out to learn new skills, share and co-design resources, and create systems that support learning in order to help teachers deliver quality instruction. Moving on to the external campuses. In the north, approximately 61 kilometers from Bai City, the city is famous for their Hinakpan Hills, also known as the Chocolate Hills of Negros Oriental. Norsu Gihulngan is located in the National Highway of Gihulngan.
Preparing ourselves in how we can handle different situations to still fit with the needs of every student. We have to learn how those technologies can help us to assist learners and what other flexible learnings that can be used for those who can't afford through online classes. Though we can't experience a student teacher since there's no face-to-face classes, but we believe and confident that we can do our responsibilities as educators someday.
The new normal have been struggle for us student teachers to cope with. Aside from reading various articles of the CHED memorandum orders and DepEd orders, we have to comply the various necessary requirements for enrolling in our practice teaching course. And we have to oblige at least 3 articles on the safety standards in the new normals and the norms and regulation on what to share in the new platforms of instructions. We have to comply and accomplish 40 hours of webinars and obtain its certificates with accompanying mode of verifications, reflections, and screenshots that required for us. With various sites to choose from, varying from Facebook, Zoom, Google Meet, and YouTube that tested our capacity to find resources as well as to find reliable source from internet connection.
Our experiences in this new normal setting as a student teacher is that it's not really easy and it's quite challenging due to limited connectivity, and sad to say, some of us doesn't have internet connection. But we are trying our very best to cope up, and also our professor help us not to left behind. This pandemic made me realize that even if we are just learning through online, Still, we are helping each other to survive, and we are all excited to wear our togas, and we can finally say that we are one step closer to our dreams.
With the absence of face-to-face classes, especially in regards with education, we have reflected the issues that having a reliable source of connectivity is a major issue in this new normal. And with the consideration of us students lived in remote areas, it's really hard to find solutions that sometimes we suffer from constant power interruptions, heavy rains, poor signals, and we need to walk at least 20 to 25 minutes to have a stable connections. But we always think positive. We always think that we are beyond blessed because all those things are happened for us to be strong, flexible enough, educators, and courageous for us to prepare a better future in this changing time.
The next campus is 96.6 kilometers away from Dumaguete City. Norsu Bayawan Santa Catalina campus is recognized as the largest campus of Norsu, particularly located in the National Road of Bayawan City.
This field practicum is regarded as the most crucial part of the teacher preparation experience. Traditionally, aspiring teachers must complete 200 hours of extensive training pertinent to professional and ethical conduct and classroom management skills and teaching instructions, given that this field observation should be authentic and supervised by a certified teacher. At the current situation, these standards were changed in order to continue the practice teaching of the students in accord to the guidelines of the Commission on Higher Education. My utmost gratitude to the College of Teacher Education of Norsu BSC for finding a perfect school partner where we can have a real-time practice teaching experience, since most schools in our division is ought to have a modular learning modality. Luckily, we have Bayawan City Science and Technology Education Center, a school which utilizes the blended learning modality. It is the perfect school to have a practice teaching experience. The College of Teacher Education, in collaboration with the DepEd personnel of Bayawan City Division, organized a virtual orientation to advise us on the guidelines and health and safety protocols that we must be aware of in order to prepare us for our student teaching journey. In helping us to understand our teaching environment better, the college and the faculty and staff of Bayawan City Science and Technology Education Center have also conducted a virtual orientation to instruct us on the different teaching mediums that we can use in virtual teaching, such as Google Classroom, Google Form, Google Meet, and others. The preparation was quite a challenge, for I have to equip myself more in technology, like the use of Google Classroom, presenting the lessons to the students and keep it interactive, how to use the Google Drive and make Google Forms in making easy access activities and quizzes. As time goes by, this difficulty became my strength. I challenged myself to become better. Studying my topics now becomes my bread and butter. I learned that I have to get my lessons ready long before discussing it to the class. I always try my best to prepare a good and presentable PowerPoint presentation in a way that the learners will have the interest to participate in class and maximize their learning. Communicating with the students through Messenger and email has also been my hobby, where I also used them as a tool for my teaching and learning instructions. During classes, I try my best to be 10 minutes early so that I could check the attendance 5 minutes before I begin with my lesson and prepare my PowerPoint presentation as advised by my mentor. Since we are only given an hour of time allotment for one meeting, I make sure to condense my lesson and budget the time I give the students to do certain activities and answer. A lot of adjustments have been made, but with the help of my mentor and fellow practice teachers, I was able to learn ways on how I can maximize my time and resources in teaching. The flexibility and creativity is being tested in this matter. I am immensely grateful to our mentor for being always at our back and for always addressing our concerns. The tremendous amount of faith of being a teacher and trust in our abilities we have developed because of the ongoing encouragement. I feel as though I have been doing a lot with the student teaching internship. Thus, I have learned so much through this pandemic about becoming a teacher. This experience doesn't make me less as a teacher, even without in the real classroom setting. This made me a better version of myself as a future educator. Now, I can say that I am ready for the new normal education. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hope everyone is well and healthy today. By the way, I would like to introduce myself formally. I am your new practice teacher from Norsu BSC. My name is Gemma Hardiniano Cabimas. Nice to virtually meet you all.
Norsu has also two external campuses found in the city of Bais, located in the streets of San Jose and Taveras. There is also a campus in the municipality of Shatan, just 50 kilometers away from Dumaguete City. Another one is found 90.2 kilometers away from Shatan, the Norsu Pamplona campus. The last of the external campuses is 76.4 kilometers away from Pamplona, the Norsu Mabinay campus. The experiences shared by all the Norsunians proved that despite the restrictions elicited by the pandemic, learning is still possible because of humans' adaptability to changes. Various online platforms emerged and are of great value given our current circumstance, especially in the teaching and learning environment. Technology-aided tools and platforms paved way for us to move towards a futuristic society which will respond to constantly shifting scenarios in this dynamic world.
Wow, thank you very much, Miss Leo Regine Rodriguez of Negros Oriental State University. That was a very good presentation. I could relate to the challenges that you guys had to hurdle. Congratulations to all our student teachers of Negros Oriental State University. Our next speaker is a 23-year-old student from the University of Nairobi. She's pursuing a bachelor's degree in education arts. She's currently a third-year student in her second semester. She's teaching mathematics and business studies, currently on her teaching practice at a renowned National Girls High School. She is passionate about mentorship for girls and in particular, the informal settlements of Kenya. A virtual round of applause, please, to Miss Murunga Josephine Flora.
May we request the tech team to make sure that Murunga Josephine Flora is able to unmute her mic. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon from this side of the world. It's afternoon actually. So yeah, my name is Josephine Flora Omurunga, as you've heard, and I'm a student teacher from the University of Nairobi. Thank you very much for this opportunity to attend the first student congress. My slide basically will be about my personal experience on teaching practice, because I think Ma'am Kisilu had given a detailed information on how teaching practice is carried out and the expectations of teaching practice from this side of the world. So I'll start with my expectations when before joined and after joining, and now I will start. I was not prepared, first of all, to join a national school for my teaching practice. Like, it was not in my mind, like I can get a slot in a national school. Considering the fact that I was not privileged to join a national school while I was in high school, but then I managed to. I was tense, I doubted myself and my confidence. I was not sure of what I was going to deliver because I didn't know how it works and the culture and all that. I also expected a lot of pressure and a lot of work delivery, considering the fact that it's a national school and results need to be delivered. And I'll also touch on the COVID-19 and and my expectations as per COVID-19. Considering how things work here in Kenya, I honestly did not expect the COVID-19 protocols to be followed strictly. Yeah, I did not expect them to be followed strictly. And onto my next slide, kindly. Yeah, reality dawned on me after stepping into my first class. The experience was not that bad as I expected. My confidence came, I was able to gain my confidence, and I was able to deliver without fear.
Madam Josephine, Flora, you are muted. Please unmute your mic. Thank you.
That's okay, Clara. We hear her very clearly. Go ahead, Josephine. We hear you.
All right. Thank you very much. And true to my expectation, there was a lot of pressure on delivery of work because you have to deliver, the kids have to perform. There's an expectation. This I was able to grasp from our first departmental meeting. I've been on teaching practice for now, this is my 5th week. And I'll tell you for sure, during the whole of first week, we were having departmental meetings to talk about results, to talk about how we need to make the girls get A's. And I'm just like, oh my God, in my university life, I've never been taught how to make someone get an A. How am I going to make the whole class get A's? So that really caught me. And another thing that surprised me was how the COVID-19 protocols were followed from the gate. When you enter the school, you can see there are points where students are able to wash their hands. And then we have sanitizers. Everyone is in a mask. And I'm just like, wow, okay. I had not actually expected that. Like, there'll be enough water to wash their hands. There's sanitizers and all that. So that, as my expectation was, I think here it was kind of opposite of it. Then I'll go to my teacher-student-teacher relations. Okay, I expected a very smooth run of affairs among the student teachers and the teachers here at the school, because as per how we trained, we are expected to respect each other, to behave like sisters and brothers. Like, according to our training, that's how we're supposed to learn to coexist with each other. And boom, shock on me. It was not as smooth run as I expected. One, we had to put up with negative comments. Like, there's a time I had a comment that was said, like, us student teachers eat a lot. And I'm just like, what? Who can even make such a statement? How do you even complain about how someone eats? It's food. We all have a right to eat, and everyone has different appetites. And then another comment came, and it was actually from my dean. So he enters and he's like, where are those TP teachers? I know right now they're idle. I want to give them some work. That one really demoralized me. I felt demeaned because, one, I'm running up and down. As you heard Ms. Kisulu speaking, we're supposed to make our schemes of work, our lesson plan for each lesson. Like, you're supposed to put your file in order, prepare for your lesson thoroughly. Mark you, it's a national school, so you have to read thoroughly. How am I even idle? Just like, so everything that I've been doing is all in vain. So that really, it affected me psychologically. I felt bad. I actually at first got very angry. And then what I learned from all that is we should not expect a smooth run. It's never a walk in the park. We're different, we act differently, we react differently to things. Like, as you can see from my picture here, that's how it felt. It felt like there's a barrier between the student teachers and the teachers. It's like we are in a conflict. But then I've come to realize this barrier can be broken depending on who is involved, depending on the state of the person you're handling, because we are different people act differently. Okay, actually, next to my next slide. Okay, student-teacher relations. Okay, I'll say this has been my best part so far for the past 5 weeks that I've been in my teaching practice. I've actually had fun, I've enjoyed. I've bonded well with my students from my first class. We were able to bond because they feel like I am their age mate. Like, we can talk anything. They can express themselves without feeling like I'll judge them. We can relate on very many issues. This I came to realize from our very first interactions. I was teaching and a student was like, teacher, can you just pause for a minute? There's something I want to share. And they started telling me of how they feel like they're being given a lot of work. They're working a lot. They feel like they don't have time of their own to do their own things. And they feel like they cannot trust their teachers enough to go and tell them these things because they'll be harsh on them, because they also need to deliver. I couldn't blame the teachers much because the pressure comes from above. You need to deliver. So it's not them that play a big role in this. So I was like, wow, now I've been asked here to make sure it's between me and the students. How am I going to go about this? How will I make sure it's between me and them without breaking the trust and at the same time solving the problem? Considering the fact that I won't be here forever, but these students will be here for the next, let's say 3 years because they were Form 1s, and I need to solve this. I can't leave them hanging. So I spoke to our HOS in mathematics. He's a reasonable person, and I made him understand that I had a contract, I had an agreement with my girls. It's that we need to trust each other. I should not tell anyone. And yeah, he kind of understood what I was saying, and he handled it in a mature way without making the teachers know the students are complaining, and without also making the teachers know a trust has been broken. And about them not having enough time to play and all that because of COVID-19. We created a Saturday. We'll be having a 1-hour session in the field where they just get to play, and I'll be the one now supervising and making sure that they adhere to the COVID-19 protocols. Another thing I'll talk about is teaching in masks. It's hectic. As you can see here, we have a teacher in mask. Yeah, with COVID-19, adhering to this is kind of challenging. It's our new normal anyway. We have to adapt to it. But I'll speak on my own and my experience on teaching in a mask. It's not been quite easy considering the fact that I teach mathematics, and you can imagine teaching geometrical construction, because right now I'm teaching geometrical construction. So a bunch of students, I have like 55 students. I need to teach these students and make them understand in a mask. How am I going to make this possible? How am I going to make sure I'm audible enough? They're getting to understand what I'm teaching. So it's not been that easy adapting to our new normal, which is teaching in mask. And then another thing that's not been quite easy is also the social distancing issue. Remember, it's a class that is full. These are 55 students, they are full. How am I going to social distance in that class? How am I going to make sure I go around marking their books, going through what they're teaching without necessarily having a contact with them? So it's kind of challenging. It's not that easy. Another thing I'll talk about is about purchasing masks. I don't know how it happens there in Philippines, but here we buy masks. So you can imagine from Monday to Friday, because you work from Monday to Friday, you come to school, you need a new mask. You need to get a new mask every day because you can't recycle it. And getting it costs you money to buy the mask, and student teachers are not paid. So you use your own money from your own pocket. So it's kind of expensive. It's an extra expense that most of us had not psychologically prepared for it. No one knew we'll be having our teaching practice during the pandemic. So no one prepared to set aside money specifically to purchase the masks. So it's been kind of expensive on our end as student teachers. And to my next slide, kindly. Yeah, I'll go to my final slide, which is recommendations. As per my teaching practice experience for the past 5 weeks, I think what needs to be done from my personal experience and from what I've got to see and what I've got to handle around me, I think what we can have seminars, maybe annually or quarterly, for our senior teachers, for them to get to understand how important it is for a child's mental health to be stable, for them to understand life does not only revolve around class, for them to understand the importance of just having a close touch with the students. Let them trust you. Let them be able to approach you and talk to you as their mother, not now as their teacher, because that really matters a lot. there's no good having a student who's getting an A, and that very student cannot even approach the teacher to talk to them, because the mental stability of a student really matters. We also need to change our system of education. Let it move from an exam-oriented system to a system where it is a holistic activity of growth, where it is a child's holistic growth, not just them passing exams and going to good schools and doing good courses. No, because COVID or no COVID, especially this pandemic period, when you are forcing a kid to pass and get an A, when we've had, like, our students here in Kenya have been at home for almost 7 months. So they're back to school and you're expecting this student to just stay in class, read, and get an A. I think it's too much pressure for them. They need to bounce back slowly and get to adapt to the system, and also get to understand the new normal. You know, they're kids. They're not like adults who'll understand this is what has happened and we need to move on. These are kids. They need to be slowly brought back to reality, like, this is how school works, this is why you can't go to the field, but despite the fact that you can't go to the field, this and this is what we can do to make sure you are mentally stable. It's a holistic growth. What benefit would it be for me to do my KCSE, Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, get my good grade, go to campus, when I cannot interact with people, when I have no social relation skills, when all I know is just to read my book, to go to the library, to do my assignment? I cannot relate with others well because I was not taught how to relate with others. I was not taught how to handle stress. That's how we end up having kids who commit suicide. It's not their fault. No one taught them. It was all about exams and passing. I think we need to move from that system of exam orientation and a holistic growth. And this period of Corona must have taught us a lot on that. And on the issue, I'll speak on behalf of student teachers and also teachers in general and our students. We need to try and get a system where we can get to distribute masks to teachers for free, because this is a new normal. No one expected this to happen. So we can't tell someone you should have been prepared. Who prepares for a pandemic? So I think the best way will be just donate masks, distribute masks for free, because education is basic and we have to teach. In as much as we have to teach, create a conducive environment for both the students and the teachers, so that we can have an environment where a student and a teacher can interact. Like from my picture here, it's easier, you can see it's easier to teach a learner when you are next to each other. But is that possible with the pandemic? Can a teacher get that close to a student? Because before Corona, you can see you go close to your student without a mask and you're comfortable. But will it be the same with the new normal? So I think when we make sure our teachers are protected and our students are protected, it will be a smooth run. We'll also get able to adapt with the new normal, and you won't feel like it's stressful or hectic. And that's it for me. That's what I'll say. I really want to thank you, the Philippine-Kenya Educational Network, for this opportunity. It's really great. I love the experience I'm getting to hear from the Filipinos. I actually enjoy everything about you people. And I'm hoping very soon we'll be able to come to Filipino and see each other on one-on-one and not on the screen. So yeah, that's it from me, Josephine Flora. I'm a student at the University of Nairobi, currently on my teaching practice. And I think I'll say a bit of the number of lessons I have. I take 3 classes, Form 1, Form 2 in business and mathematics. I have a total of 14 lessons, 6 in Form 1, 8 business studies in Form 2 and Form 1. I have 54 Form 1s, 13 Form 2s, because they get to select. Once you are in Form 2, you get to select whether you can do business studies or not to do it. Otherwise, I'm enjoying my teaching practice and I'm loving the experience I'm getting. I think once I'm done here, I'll have the necessary experience that I can even come to Filipino and teach you people there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Josephine Flora. Your experience is really touching but encouraging at the same time. But we really trust God that this pandemic will come to an end and we will be able to teach without masks on. I also thank God for your nurturing heart at students in Alliance Girls High School in Kenya. Even to our fellow teachers in our midst, it is important to note that teaching is a profession that God has entrusted to us to nurture young souls. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our next student speaker. Our next speaker just completed his student teaching internship at Silliman University, Dumagate City. He specializes in music, arts, physical education, and health. Is now preparing for the international licensure examination for teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker is none other than Mr. Neil Remata. Neil Remata, the floor is yours, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Gloria. So I'll be sharing my experience as an ST student in Silliman. Just share. So here's my slide. So this is the student teaching experience here in Silliman University. Since I'm a secondary education student, that is high school students that I'm dealing. So I teach music, arts, PE, and health. And later on, I would share experiences from the elementary. But for me in secondary education, this is what happened. So first, overall student teaching experience. It was convenient and efficient. So we only had one synchronous day per week, and that could be like 1 hour and 30 minutes per week, only usually Wednesdays. And we had the opportunity to do it at home or at school. So when we go to the faculty room, we would be usually in our uniforms, but at home, I would just be half dressed since the students would only see half of my body. And for the online platform, we use Soul, which is the online platform for Silliman, but we use other platforms such as Zoom and Google Meet, and also Facebook Messenger. So other experiences, we had great mentorship and support. I want to thank Dr. Gina Bunyor, who was always there for us, and also my mentor, Sir Eldin Akar and Sir Paul Pinelli. So they gave us good, clear, and practical instructions, which was easy to follow. Even if they were away, we could do the things that was needed for us. And we had consistent communication. We could communicate with them constantly through Messenger, and they would reply right away. And we had positive environment. So even if we had some errors, our mentors and advisor would correct us in a good and comforting way. So what are the requirements in our ST? So first was the teaching. Next would be, here are some other materials that were given to us. So we had online resources like some things to read and some videos from CHED and DepEd. And we had peer camaraderie with our classmates. So if we have a hard time, we would help each other even with our materials. Then we also had webinars to familiarize ourselves with the things that we would use for our ST. So here are other experiences and requirements for ST. So first is the action research. So we had the option to do it individually or with a partner, but I chose to be with a partner. And we were taught in our curriculum in Silliman, we had a subject which is BC 25 or 26, that is thesis writing. I got both subjects because I had engineering subjects before. So I learned how to write thesis papers, but I'm not familiar with the action research. So we were introduced to it through webinars, and Ma'am Bunyor also showed us how to do it step by step. So first semester was the research proposal. It is where we introduce or we propose our research, but we won't do it yet. So Mom would check that so that we could do it properly in the second sem. So in the second semester, it is where we would then create it. So it's data gathering and application. So then we would compile our data and see if it really works, if our research really works. So that also includes our application in our classroom. So here are sample data from our research. So we would usually present it in graphs. My research was about performance tasks and how much the students could handle and how it would affect their performance relation to how much they have activities. So that's just a sample data. So next requirement from ST would be the e-portfolio. So before we use the portfolio, but now since we're using online platform, we were taught at an EdTech subject that on how to create a website. Also, we were taught how to create PowerPoints like that. So we knew how to create websites. So this e-portfolio is a compilation of ST documents that would include our certificates, our CV, our blogs, and our materials like PowerPoints and our assessments. So you could check on my website through hybridkamatis.weebly.com because I don't have enough time right now. So the next would be vlogs. So this would be the last requirement. So it's an alternative to journals. Instead of writing journals, you were just creating vlogs. So for me, I made presentations. I just recorded myself through Zoom, while others, my classmates, created animation. And we were given the freedom to create anything that we want. So we would just use our creativity in making these vlogs. So here are the requirements in student teaching. So first is the overall teaching, which we have number of hours that was required. And next would be the action research, e-portfolio, and blogs. So now I would be sharing to you a video shared to us by our Silliman Elementary BE-Ed students, ST students. So I'll share the video now.
With the outbreak of COVID-19, colleges and universities must cancel face-to-face classes and switch to alternative learning systems. The Silliman University College of Education Student Internship Program used MySoul, an all-in-one web-based teaching and learning platform, as the official learning management system. Student teachers have received extensive training on how to use the platform, specifically in delivering offline and real-time activities.
Student teaching in full ODL was never easy. Everything was new for me and I had my fair share of struggles in dealing with it. And because pupils work in different ways, as a teacher, it is important to explore a variety of approaches and methods in order to give them plenty of opportunities to learn.
Best thing about student teaching is that you will have an opportunity to learn from an experienced teacher, and this experience will prepare you to become a great teacher someday.
Before I began my student teaching, I wasn't completely sure I was ready because it's gonna be different from the usual classroom setting. Planning and prepping took my nights and weekends, but I actually really like doing all that kind of work. You'll have to make so many on-the-spot decisions and you'll find it's both scary and fun. However, I found that as I was progressing, things just kind of fell into place and it felt right to be doing it.
The most unforgettable moment in my student teaching life is when I had my final task, which led me to my final success.
I've learned a great deal, especially about teaching tactics and how to educate others. It's never been easy for me, especially there's a pandemic. But I've learned a lot. I didn't think I could do it at first, but now I can't believe I did it. Learning is a continuous process for me, and even I have completed my education, I will never stop learning and I will be still open-minded.
This whole internship is like a roller coaster ride, believe me. I have so many difficulties and challenges that I have to overcome, and I am so thankful and grateful for everyone who helped me.
Aside from it's challenging, it's also electrifying.
Innovative.
It's all about teamwork.
Meaningful.
To make the most of their internship experience, student teachers conducted a collaborative classroom-based action research project to better understand and improve the quality and justice of classroom practices. In addition, student teachers attended the Philippine-Kenyan Education Network, or PEN, webinar and were able to share and learn practices to improve and maintain the quality of teacher preparation amidst the pandemic. This entire student internship journey proves that anything is possible with prayers, hard work, and perseverance.
So next video would come from Foundation University College of Education.
I am June Anthony A. Bartoses, a Bachelor of Secondary Education, student teacher intern of Foundation University, Dumaguete City, Philippines. This pandemic brought a lot of challenges to our teacher education institution. The Foundation University College of Education, or FUCE, in making sure that we, the student teachers, can experience authentic classroom environment. Weeks before deployment, our FUCE launched the iStep, or the Interactive Student Teachers Enhancement Program, where we were given series of evening sessions to enhance our communication skills conducted by the Dean of FUCE. Prior to our actual deployment at the Dumaguete City High School, for us the secondary, and at Sibulan Central School and Pasil Elementary School of the divisions of Negros Oriental and Cebu Province, respectively, for the elementary, we were required to attend webinars of the following. First, observing health protocols during pandemic by our university medical officials and safety officer. Second, the roles and responsibilities of a student teacher by the public partner schools. Third, the modalities of teaching, again, by our public partner schools. Fourth, professional training, events employment of visual design for online learning. And lastly, online teaching and learning, to mention some. Part of other requirements was for us to submit ourselves to neurological and physical examinations and get ourselves enrolled in the field health. Our parents and our significant others were called to a forum by the university to understand that why we have to be deployed to schools and ask their consensus for cooperation and support. This pandemic has made me realize that as a future teachers, we need to be flexible and we need to be ready on any change that will come our way. Our little exposure to some types of teaching learning modalities in our classroom, like the use of Edmodo and preparing presentations using either PowerPoint presentation or Google Slides, had in a way helped us. We are the future teachers, and let us together face our challenge, though with uncertainty, but a bit prepared.
To whom God's love commits me here. Every day.
Morning! Kumusta man mo?
So next video would come from St. Paul's University, Dumaguete.
The COVID-19 pandemic is changing the way we live, learn, and work in a variety of ways. It radically altered the teaching and learning process in education, particularly the huge shift from face-to-face learning to virtual learning. The university embraced the Plinian blended learning and utilized Microsoft Teams as the primary teaching platform. According to one of the student teachers, and I quote, "For the first week as a student teacher, we were asked to observe the class, and we were introduced to a set of online ethical rules that must be observed in the entire duration of the online class." Furthermore, she added that we need to adapt and we need to evolve. Being aware how to manage the gadget is the basic tool that I must be equipped. End of quote. The student teaching program prepared the student teachers by providing them with information and orientation on the university's data privacy and work integrity regulations. The prerequisites for practice teaching and the updates in depth and flexible learning and the new normal were also part of the orientation. In addition, the student teachers got Plinian blended learning or PulseSync training for virtual classes. They also attended webinars in hopes to identify the best and most interactive learning opportunities for their pupils and students. Several interactive programs such as Kahoot, Quizzes, Edmodo, and others were introduced to them during the webinars. They were also taught various strategies, suitable and aligned techniques to suit their students' needs in online classes. Additionally, student teachers were given the time and opportunity to explore their gadgets and be familiar with the different applications, especially the Microsoft Teams. There were also threats and challenges encountered by student teachers in online classes and controllable factors such as poor internet connectivity, unexpected technological error, and electricity interruption interfere with online classes. Despite the challenges that our world is facing, the student teachers remained resilient and dedicated in their profession. The pandemic will not hinder them in achieving their goals because they are filled with optimism and taught to embrace the change as a welcoming challenge. Indeed, it takes courage and dedication to finish what has been started. However, the student teachers from St. Paul University Dumaguete proved that everything is possible with hope, faith, and strong will. Soon, with God's grace, they will become the professional teachers that they aspire to be.
So last student experience would come from Cosca Dumaguete. So that's Colegio de Santa Catalina de Alejandria.
As a student of Colegio de Santa Catalina de Alejandria, I consider my experience and that of my co-student teacher a totally different from what student teacher in the past experienced. First of all, we are deprived of the opportunity to have a face-to-face interaction with our student. I only them in our once-a-week online classes. And sometimes these students would switch off their cameras and I didn't know whether they're still attending the class or not. At times, without warning, brownouts would occur. It was so frustrating. At COSCA, we are adopting the blended learning modality, which means that some of their activities are coming from modules. Since they are not allowed to come to school, it's their parents who would submit their outputs. And mind you, they could not submit on time. They always give us reasons. This year, we are required to conduct an action research. This is an added task on top of the readings and 15 episodes that we are working and documenting. We work sleepless nights just to accomplish these requirements from our supervising teacher. However, despite all these challenges, we student teachers embrace the reality brought about by this pandemic. On my end, I learned to be more patient and flexible in dealing with my students. I stopped complaining. I realized that it is not just I who is adjusting to this new academic situation, but also my students, our students.
So those were the student experiences with the private schools here in Dumaguete, that is Silliman, Foundation, St. Paul's, and COSCA. So thank you for listening to my presentation and good day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neil Ramata of Silliman University. By the way, Mr. Ramata was awarded as the most outstanding student teacher of the secondary education teachers of Silliman University for the school year 2020-2021. A round of applause, a virtual round of applause for Mr. Neil Ramata, please. And of course, congratulations as well to all our student teachers of Silliman University, St. Paul's University, and Colegio de Santa Catalina de Alejandria. Thank you for sharing your experiences. There you have it. You just heard from our student teachers' experiences here in the Philippines and of course in Kenya. I'm certain that our students who will soon have their turn in student teaching are all very excited. Of course, we will make it through despite this pandemic. We all can do this. Before we move on to the next part, we will be entertained with an intermission number. But before that, let me encourage everyone to please start writing your questions at the chat box. All questions should follow this format: your name, the country, the question, and the name of the speaker to whom the question is addressed. With that said, let us be entertained with an intermission number from the Silliman University College of Education. Please welcome the Junior Special Needs Education students. A virtual round of applause, please.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. I'm gonna send a blood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me.
Wow, thank you very much. That was awesome. So right now, we are down to the open forum. To help us out in the selection of questions, we have Jacinta Iaya of Kenyatta University. She is currently taking up her master's in educational technology in Kenya. Gloria, who do we have here in the Philippines?
Yeah, we have Nina Amato, who is currently taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education English at Foundation University. You can now all please send in your questions. Thank you.
All right, so we have Jacinta Iaya and Nina Amato will now take the floor for our open forum. I think we have to unmute Miss Jacinta Iyaya. She's not able to unmute herself.
While the tech team is unmuting Nina and Jacinta, maybe we can read some of the questions that are posted in our chat box, or we could
Yes,
ask.
maybe to give the first question as we wait for Jacinta. The first question is directed to Professor Ann Kisilu from Philippines College of Education. The question is, what are the primary procedures done by the government of Kenya to ensure that students and teachers are learning face-to-face? Thank you so much, Professor Ann Kisilu. Maybe you can answer that question, please.
Are you able to unmute yourself, Dr. Kisilu?
You also have to unmute, I guess, Miss Nina Amato of Foundation University.
And then we can go on to the next question if there is. And then may we request the tech team, maybe it would be good at this point. We can unmute everyone. Thank you. All right.
Okay, there was just one question, the one that Gloria has asked.
Okay, while we are waiting for the Dr. Casilo to be unmuted, we request the other participants to please write their questions on the chat box. We will accommodate maybe 2 more questions, and then we can move on with the program. Thank you. Kindly type your questions on the chat box. Thank you very much.
Yes, Madam Gina, as we wait for more questions, I think Professor Becky Isanda can answer that question since it is from Kenya. Yeah, and I can as well repeat the question for her to get it well. The question is, what are the primary procedures done by Kenyan government and its education department so that students and teachers have face-to-face learning? Thank you.
Dr. Becky, are you able to unmute yourself? Please go ahead. Or perhaps Dr. Barasa or other professors from Kenya would like to answer that or could answer that question. Dr. Becky, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, now I've been unmuted by the host. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for that question. The question came from Rona Yahasnet from Silimani University. I think the first thing that when the COVID-19 pandemic was announced in Kenya, it was in March 2020 by the President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. He immediately closed the schools. The schools in Kenya were first closed for a whole year. During that whole year, the Ministry of Education, that is the body that is in charge of education, together with other government agents, started putting together strategies that would be able to enable the children to go back to school. One of the strategies, first of all, was to close the schools so that they can be able to understand the needs of the schools. And the needs that came up were One, that children needed to go back to school, but they had to be safe. So one of the safety measures was that the children would have to have masks. And the government of Kenya was kind enough to provide masks. Okay, thank you. So one of the measures was to give the children the masks. All the children in Kenya were given masks for free. That is from the basic level to the primary and to the secondary level. And yes, like Flora Josephine mentioned, the teachers were not given masks. The masks were only given to the children. The second measure that was put in place was sanitation. Water was provided. We do have challenges in a number of schools with water in Kenya. So water was provided. Each and every school was supported so that they could try and have water, even if it is to store the water in the tanks, so that the children could be able to wash their hands. Sanitizers were provided initially. Even private bodies came in to support us, like the UNICEF SRO, and the rest to support the children with sanitizers, but that was not enough. Eventually, we went to homegrown, so the children are now provided with soap because sanitizers are expensive. And I think also it has been found that sometimes there's been a lot of mischief in schools in regard to sanitizers. Our children have actually tried burning the schools using sanitizers. So right now, we are using soap. The other measures that have been put in place, like Teacher Walter and Teacher Josephine alluded, is spacing. Social spacing or social distancing has been tried in Kenya, but it has not been very effective because we have very large classes. Our classes range from 50 children to probably 200, even there are classes with over 200 children. Actually, in the university, we have very, very many students, over 500 students, 1,000 students and the like. So it's not been easy, but what the institutions have done is that then the children who are more take the larger classes, and there have been students being divided into smaller groups so that the children can be able to learn. On the side of on awareness, then awareness has been done both at home and awareness has also been done in the schools. The children have been made aware what is COVID, how to take care of themselves both at home and both at school. And even that has been done for the parents. I think that is what is going on right now. For example, in a number of institutions, the social distancing is done, even it's marked on the floor. So a child can only sit where the yellow mark is to keep them safe. Thank you very much. I hope I answered your question, Rona. Back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Back to
you,
you.
Becky. Thank you very much, Dr. Isanda. I believe Dr. Kisilo is already here and she was asking if we could repeat the question for her. Perhaps she could add to the answer of Dr. Becky Isanda. Thank you, Gloria.
Okay, thank you so much, Magina Poniol. Prof. Ann Kisilu, the question was, what are the primary procedures done by Kenyan government and its education department so that students and teachers are able to have face-to-face learning? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Kisilo, are you able to unmute yourself? Kindly unmute yourself. Okay, perhaps Dr. Kisilo will just write her response in addition to what Dr. Isanda told us earlier. And we will now move on to the next question. Thank you.
All right, so we have another question here from Wycliffe Okeyo. He's from Kenya, and the question is, how did you achieve empathy amongst your learners? This is addressed to Mr. Agutu.
Mr. Agutu is that Wally?
No, I'm Wally. Wally is Walter Nyakundi.
Yeah, who's Mr. Agutu or Miss Agutu? What to whom that question addressed, Jonah?
It's addressed to Mr. Agutu, Ma'am Gina.
I think we don't have such speaker unless there must be a mistake. Our speakers from Kenya is we have Wally and the other one is Flora, right? Shall we kindly repeat the question and we'll see to whom it might have been addressed?
Okay, so the question is, how did you achieve empathy amongst your learners?
Wally, could you answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'll refer to my learners, especially the ones in my class who which is of both the special needs learners and the regular. We have the understanding of from student to student, and which is different depending on the age, the gender. And then we have the regular learners. They get along well. They get along well with each other. But then there comes a challenge when it comes to the special needs learners. They cannot relate well to everyone. But funny enough, when I came to MPS, I found out that the relationship between these two groups was very good, actually. These learners could really help even without being asked to. They could really help. They could know the needs of their fellow learners who are visually impaired, and they could really help. And from the the teacher learner relationship, the empathy, I was able to achieve it by getting to understand each learner, like personally, their background, their home background, the friends they have. There are some who talk a lot, there are some who are just quiet. So I could try to find out, have they been quiet all that while, or is it just something that has happened that has made them to start being quiet suddenly? I would get to know their different reactions to different things in class, outside class, every day. Would interact outside class, especially, most especially. That's because they are more free with you outside class, especially during physical health lessons. They really get very free with the teacher. You go to their level, you get down to their level. Yeah, they come and open up to the teacher, and you get to better understand them. So if you want to get empathetic with your learners, just go down to their level, try to understand them at a personal level, and it will just flow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walter. Maybe we can accommodate Jonah and Gloria. Just one last question since we're already out of time. And then we can just email our speakers any questions that we might have. So we can email them directly. We can ask our speakers to please type your email address on the chat box so the rest of the questions may be emailed to you. We will now accommodate just one last question. So we end at 7 o'clock. Thanks, Jonah. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gina. Maybe to give out the last question, but the person asking the question has not directed it to anyone, or maybe my Gina Bonio, you can answer it. The question is from Josephat from Moi University in Kenya. The question is, many times we go for teaching practice, some schools attribute poor performance to teaching practice teachers. What can you comment about this? Our doctors, maybe anyone can answer the question. It's not directed to anybody. Thank you.
Paraphrase the question. Some schools are complaining because they're thinking that the poor performance of their students may be attributed to the fact that they're being taught by student teachers. Did I get that right?
Yeah, sure, right.
Okay, so perhaps we could ask our speakers, Professor Cordibilia and Professor Kisilo, to answer the question. So we have Philippine perspective and Kenyan perspective. May I request Dr. Kisilo, and may I request the tech team to please unmute Cordivilla and Dr. Ann Kisilo. Dr. Rolette Cordivilla and Dr. Ann Kisilo. May we ask Dr. Rolette, could you unmute yourself now and answer that question?
Thank you for the question, Dr. Bunyor. I feel that that is out of line, no? Saying that poor performance is attributed to the fact that the learners are being taught by practice teachers. From the Philippine side, our cooperating teachers are oriented on their roles, and our Department of Education is fully aware of its responsibilities. So I have not really encountered something like that. But should it happen, I think it is unfair because the cooperating teacher's role is to mentor the practice teacher. And so whatever is the outcome of the performance should not just be attributed to the kind of practice teacher that he or she is assigned to, but to the process in general, to how the learner was taught prior to the coming of the practice teacher. That would be from my end, Dr. Bunyor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cordivilla. Perhaps now Dr. Kisilo can already be unmuted. And while Dr. Kisilo is trying to unmute herself, I would like to read her answer. She actually answered on the chat box the first question, and she said, and this is a direct quote, "Learners and teachers in Kenya strictly wear masks. We observed social distancing. Teachers were also vaccinated. We had hand washing and sanitation. It's working and we are trusting this to progress. At Moy University, we are also using blended form of learning, which has both online and face-to-face sessions." Thank you very much, Dr. Kisilo. Would you also like to answer that question? What can you say about certain individuals blaming student teachers for poor performance of the school or the students in a particular school? Dr. Kisilo? Okay, it looks like Dr. Kisilo is having some tech glitch or that she's not able to unmute herself. So we will probably ask someone from Kenya. It could be Dr. Nobert. Would you like to share your thoughts on this?
I'm sorry, Madam Gina Bonyo, Dr. Nobert has network issues.
Okay.
Sorry.
How about Clara? Would you like to answer that question? Perspective from Kenya. So from the Philippines, we are getting from Dr. Cordivilla that statement or comment is really out of hand because students' performance is not judged according to 1 or 2 years. Student teachers are only with them for a few months, and therefore the performance of students couldn't be blamed or attributed mainly to the student teachers. What is your thought on this?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Gina, Dr. Gina. I would like to say that it would be unfortunate for student teachers who are supposed to be on mentorship to be blamed for poor performance. It's an unfortunate occurrence, but we expect as teachers and mentors who are responsible for the mentorship of these students to mentor them just before. That's why we have what we call teaching practice, and especially what we call micro-teaching. Micro-teaching is a course that comes just before the students go for the practicum. And during that time, the students are mentored on how to carry out class and management and how to deliver content to the learners. And in the field, then during the assessment periods, it is the teacher who has come to assess, normally the lecturers who have come to assess the student teachers rather, to give feedback, especially having observed the classes or the lessons carried out by the student teachers. and give feedback in the sense that they should be able to give advice based on their delivery of content and also class control. So I think it is not in our doing, or it should not be that we should blame the student teachers for poor performance. And yes, as you said, Madam Dr. Gina, we do not assess learners. Okay, in our Kenyan situation, we have a student teachers going for teaching practice or a practicum for 3 months, which is a whole term. At the end of every term, we have what we call assessment or end of term exam. And it is at that time that we do assessment. The students sit exam and they're given results. So I think most of the time it is, in our case, there's that assessment at the end of the term. And yes, the results may be not as expected because of maybe the student teachers have not really have developed the skills to teach. But then in my case, when the teachers on teaching practice would come, I would always ensure that the teacher on teaching practice is accompanied. I would accompany the teacher maybe to class and help her or him and ensure that there is accuracy in delivery of content and assessment. Thank you very much for this.
Okay, thank you, Clara. And also in the Philippines, and I'm thinking also in Kenya, we have cooperating teachers from the school who supervise and mentor our student teachers closely. In addition to that, we also have student teaching supervisors who visit the classrooms and work closely with the cooperating teacher or the teacher to whom the students are assigned. So in this way, we are sure that we are providing the necessary scaffolding and support to our student teachers. Please note, if we might, in case the Zoom room will close at 7 o'clock, please sign back in for our closing synthesis, closing remarks, and picture taking. I'm just thinking maybe it might sign out at 7 because that was the schedule that we put in our when we set the Zoom meeting, and we have extended. So please note, if we do get disconnected, please sign back in and we will have our synthesis and our picture taking, the giving of certificates and acknowledgements. All right, so let's move on, Jonah, to the next phase.
All right. So actually questions are now coming in, but in as much as we want to entertain more, we don't have so much time. Our apologies. So this time, let us hear a synthesis to be given to us by a graduating student at Kenyatta University in Kenya. He is pursuing special needs education, English, and literature. He recently completed his practicum, which he taught language skills and daily living activities. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Mr. Patrick John Agutu.
May we request the tech team to please make sure that Patrick John Aguto is unmuted. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
No touch.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we do. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you for that warm introduction. I will not waste time. I'll go straight to the synthesis that I'm supposed to be doing. We have heard from okay, I'm told to start my video. Can you now see me?
Not yet, sir. Maybe you can just read if we have problems transitioning to the video. We hope you understand why we, the tech team, decided early on to unmute everyone and just mute the make or have the audio for those who are speaking. There's someone who is playing music, so we have to make sure to respect our speakers, that only the speaker is heard. Go ahead, Patrick.
Thank you for that, madam. I understand that. Okay, so for the synthesis part of it, I would like to summarize it in a few words. For instance, we had our first mentors. We realized that in both countries, Kenya and Philippines, the student teacher preparation is done before the practice, or even before the practicum itself. We are told in Kenya here, we go for that training for a period of 3 years before you are allowed now to go to school for the practice itself. So we agree that in both countries, our student, or as the student, we are taken through a given process for a given time, so that we are fully ready for the practice. Another one was mentorship programs, and the first speakers told us that the mentorship program for the teacher, for the student teacher, is quite vital, and it is both practice in both countries, and we are doing it perfectly well. Then another one was networking, and even link a student teacher with the parents to the students. So the student teacher has a relation. We are taught to have a good relation with the parent of these particular learners for effective production. Then another one was the student teacher provide a lesson plan, study guide, modules, portfolios during and even at the end of the practice. We that have gone for our practice, for our teaching practice, we did this, and we produced this. We produced our portfolios, we produced our lesson plans during the practice, we produced our modules and even the study guides to our learners. Another one in Kenya, we are told now, in future, we are going to have our practice not only for 3 months, but now for a period of 6 months. I had some questions, someone was complaining like some students are performing dismally, and the dismal performance is being channeled to the teachers who are on practice. And now we can say that in Kenya right now, they are going to give our student teacher in practice more time. Why? It is the student themselves and even the pupils themselves who are requesting for this. They are saying that these teachers are quite caring. These teachers who are on practice are quite encouraging, and they want more time with them. And that's why you heard Daktari say that in Kenya now, they are going to increase the stay of these teachers who are on practice. So that's a plus on our side. And we are really, as teachers on practice, we are doing a good job. From the student teachers experience, both in Kenya and Philippines, we had one, there's a point, number one was a great mentorship. There's a teacher student who mentioned that the great mentorship that they get before and even during the practice help them a lot, and that comes by consistent communication. Like our mentors consistently communicate with us and even with them during their practice, so that's much recommendable. And again, the positive environment that we create. You as a teacher on the practice or on the practicum, do you create a positive environment for your learners, for the rest of for the other teachers? Do you do that? Another one was the student teacher experience was much orientation being done before deployment. We have mentioned that even previously. We said that this orientation it comes with a given, it comes for a given period of time. So this, before you are taken to a given school, You have been informed on what to expect, what you are going to do. So before you are deployed to that particular school, you are already in for that particular task that you have been assigned to. Another experience that we talked of was that the speakers talked of was observation of health protocols, and our team from Kenya and even the team from Philippines, we have mentioned that we are both observing the health protocols while we are teaching physically, or even while we are in the online classes. We are observing the health protocols. Another teacher mentioned a student-teacher experience. As teachers, we need to be flexible and ready to adapt to a change. Now, before the COVID-19 pandemic came, we were used to the older norm where we could go to class, interact freely with the teachers. So as teachers, it has become a new norm, and now we have to be so much flexible and ready to adapt to this new change that has come. So if it's now a norm that we have to adapt the online learning. So as a teacher, do you have the gadgets, the devices with you already? Yeah. So we have to be flexible, and it was mentioned, we have to be flexible as teachers so that we can always be at par when we are called to. Then the last but not least, I think from my list, of use of peer teaching on both physical and even online. When you want to achieve something, when you want to achieve an online class that is much educative, I think you can always include your peer. Like you can inquire, like, how did you do it? How are you doing it to achieve a result? So let us always use our peers when we're teaching both online and even when you're teaching both and even when teaching physical. You can get to ask a friend, how do you manage this? How did you manage this? So that you don't lag behind when it comes to teaching a given concept. All the teacher and student-teacher relation, we've mentioned, it was talked about, and as the student-teacher, we are appealing that these older teacher are given seminars, so that once in a while they're told, like, okay, you're expecting some new teachers from colleges, from the university. Now, how are you going to relate with them? So that some people tend to forget, and it's not bad to remind them of one or two of these issues. So from my side, this and much more that you have are the part of the synthesis that I captured. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. I think you're having connectivity issues, so we are now giving the floor back to Gloria and Jonah. Thanks, Patrick, for the synthesis.
That is really good, Mr. Patrick, for the nice synthesis. Again, I thank you. I think we've heard a lot from our speakers, all the way from the first speaker to the last speaker, and some of them have given us solutions to the challenges that we are facing when we are teaching during this pandemic. And I hope if we implement these challenges, we will be able to teach even when we have the pandemic here with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take this opportunity with all due respect and protocol observed to introduce the founding president of Philippine-Kenya Education Network, that is PEN. The founder has a PhD in education with a specialization in reading education from the University of the Philippines. Also, a Master of Arts degree major in English as the second language, which she completed at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, Honolulu, United States of America, on a Fulbright scholar, yeah. and a Master in Education degree with specialization in teaching English as the second language. She was a fellow of the Philippine-Australia Project Basic Education, where she completed a certificate program in professional studies in teacher education at the Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. She also just completed a certificate program in higher education, teaching at Harvard University, United States of America. She's currently acting Dean of the College of Education at Silliman University, Umagate City, Philippines. Madam President, Dr. Gina Fonte John Ponyo, it's my ample pleasure to welcome you to share your observation and give your closing remarks. And again, thank you for bringing us this opportunity in Penn to show our talents and to teach as student teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gloria, for that generous introduction. Good evening, Philippine participants. Good afternoon, Kenyan participants. And thank you for staying for 30 minutes more. We're supposed to end at 6:30. Our presence up to this point demonstrates our collective commitment to the improvement of teacher education for the best interest of our students. The various student-teacher presentations say one thing: nothing, not even a pandemic, can stop passion and compassion. Nothing, not even a pandemic, can bring down our good intentions and vision for the future of each of our countries. At this point, may I have the honor to acknowledge the individuals who have enriched this conversation with their perspectives and reflections. May I have the honor to present the certificates to our guest speakers who showed us the larger context of student teaching internship by showing us and sharing with us national guidelines and policies in their countries, and also to our 4 student teachers who shared with us their personal narratives as they navigated through the complex and challenging student teaching experiences in or amid this pandemic. Our first certificate of recognition is given to Professor Ann S. Casilo from Moy University for sharing her expertise, reflections, and thoughts on the theme of this first international Philippine-Kenyan Student Congress on this 11th day of June 2021. Signed, Gina Fontejon Bunyor, Penn President. A round of applause to our first speaker, Professor Ann S. Casilo, who presented to us the policies and guidelines of student teaching internship in Kenya. The same citation is in the certificate that will be handed to Roulette P. Cordevilla of Negros Oriental State University. Thank you, Dr. Cordevilla. At this point, we will also be presenting certificates to the 4 student teachers, 2 from Kenya and 2 from the Philippines. First, Philippine-Kenya Education Network, KEN, on its first Student Teachers Congress, presents the certificate of recognition to Walter Nyakondi from Kenyatta University, Kenya, for sharing with us the depth of passion and compassion he had in special needs education through her experiences in the student teaching internship. Signed, Gina Fontejon Bunyor, Penn President. Our next certificate, shall we give a round of applause to Walter for that really wonderful presentation? Thank you very much, Walter. Our next certificate has similar citation, is given to Leo Regine Rodriguez of the Negros Oriental State University, who also shared with us her experiences and that of other student teachers in the various campuses of the Negros Oriental State University. Thank you very much, Leo Regine Rodriguez. A virtual applause, please. Third presenter, very enriching personal narrative, forthright, straight from the heart. Thank you, Josephine Flora from the University of Nairobi. This certificate is handed to you by the Philippine-Kenya Education Network on its first Student Teachers Congress. And finally, our last speaker is Neil K. Remata, student teacher from Silliman University. This certificate of recognition is awarded to you for the sharing of your experiences as well as the experiences of 3 other private universities in Dumaguete City. Thank you very much, Mr. Neil K. Remata. Shall we give Neil and the rest of our student teacher presenters a round of applause for well-prepared, reflections and sharing that comes straight from the heart. At this point, I would also like to acknowledge the founding members of the Philippine-Kenya Education Network. First of all, we would like to acknowledge Mr. Rolando Villamero Jr., who was former UNICEF representative on inclusive education based in Kenya and was a graduate of the College of Education at Silliman and also faculty member of Negros Oriental State University. Thank you, Junjun, for being the conduit and putting together and making the Kenyan and the Philippine teacher education institutions meet. The Kenyan institutions are Musindi Mulero University of Science and Technology, represented by Dr. David Barasa. Moy University, represented by Dr. Billion Otundo. University of Kabianga, represented by Ms. Clara Lagat. University of Nairobi, represented by Dr. Nobert Basweti. Kenyatta University, represented by Dr. Becky Esanda, who is also the Kenyan representative for PEN. From the Philippines, there are also 5 universities. Colegio de Santa Catalina de Alejandria, represented by Dr. Consolacion Unabia. Foundation University, represented by Dr. Erlinda Calumpang. Negros Oriental State University, represented by Dr. Libertine de Guzman and Dr. Roulette Cordivilla, who also is the Philippine representative to PEN. And St. Paul University Dumaguete, represented by the Dean, Dr. Maricar Flores. And finally, Silliman University, represented by Dr. Elvie Nasbit and myself as PEN President. Thank you very much for trusting me to lead in this collaborative effort. And again, we would like to thank our speakers who have prepared very well for this event. Professor Ann Esquisilo is from Moy University, and she talked on policies, guidelines, and practices on student teaching in Kenya. And Dr. Roulette P. Cordivilla of Negros Oriental State University, who talked on new normal policies, guidelines on the deployment of pre-service education and teaching internship for 2020-2021. Our thanks to Walter, Leo Regine, Josephine Flora, and Neil for the honest conversation. Our program facilitators, Gloria, thank you very much from University of Nairobi, Kenya, and Jonah from Silliman University. Thank you very much for hosting our first PEN Students Congress. We would also like to thank all our facilitators, opening remarks, Jacinta, our welcome address, Clara, the forum guidelines, Dr. Onabia, our co-moderators for the open forum, Nina and Jacinta, those who introduce our speakers, Dr. Maricar Flores and Dr. Nobert Baswete. The intermission number, thank you for that rich presentation or intermission from Rona Yahasneth Banabana, April Grace Katakutan, Jessa Yuliran, Seth Regine Sardan, and Lizelle Timbol, all of the special needs education from Silliman University. We would also like to thank the synthesis that was just given by Patrick John Aguto. Thank you for also incorporating your personal perspective on the synthesis. And we will be led in our closing prayer by Grace Marie Gador and Carl Joel Tilos. My thanks to all of the founding members of PEN. Special mention to Dr. Becky Isanda, Dr. Nasvik, Dr. Billian Otondo, and the rest of the members for helping us put together our student teachers. We have requested Clara and Jonah to start a group chat with participating student teachers so you could also have your own organization, and that is something that we look forward to. We have the email addresses and we will see how we could link student teachers in Kenya and the Philippines so we could learn from each other. Last but not least, I would like to thank the team, the technical team from Silliman Online University Learning. Alfie Arcelo, Dr. Dave Marshall, Dr. Fredley Bukog. Thank you so much, sir, for making sure that our speakers are well respected and that only their voices are heard. We understand that this kind of difficulty of muting and unmuting was necessary because there was someone who was sharing music and singing at the background, and we want to maintain the dignity and formality and respect of this occasion. Thank you very much, Seoul team. The College of Education at Silliman University sponsored the upgrading of the Zoom account to accommodate all of us here. Thank you very much. And to all of you, our participants, to our present and future student teachers, to the professors, to the cooperating mentors and supervisors. There are deans here from different teacher education institutions, both in Kenya and the Philippines. We are so happy that you have journeyed with us tonight. God bless all our student teachers on yet another exciting journey towards your becoming and being teachers of competence, character, and faith. Maayong gabi kanatong tanan. Daghang salamat. Asante sana. God bless us. Praise be to God for our conversation tonight. Thank you, Clara and Jonah. The floor is back to you.
A million thanks, Dr. Gina Bunyor, the president of Philippine-Kenya Education Network. Let's give her a big virtual round of applause, please.
Bravo!
At this point, may I request everyone to please turn your videos on for a photo opportunity.
Okay. Full screen. So any one of us could take. I am now taking photos, but anyone could also do that. May we also, will the Seoul team take photos also? Can you do that, please, for us? I'm now taking one, but maybe the Seoul team will do a better job at it. All right, so we will all make sure that we see each other. Right. So we will unmute ourselves and then we will gallery. All right, I'm taking 12 slates. Slates number 1, smile. Just keep on smiling. Okay, slate 1 done. Slate 2. That's from Marvin to Grace. Slate 3. Slate 4. Okay, hold on. Slate 4. There you go. Slate 5. Smile. Slate 6. We're halfway. Slate 7. Kindly show us. So far, slate 7, only 2 people are visible. It's all a blank. Slate 8. So this is Lisbeth, Evame, Lizelle, Mitch, ganon.
Oh,
Mitch
ako
Vincent.
classmate. Oh.
Mitch Vincent.
Bayot gaga. Ay,
Okay.
alam, makadungog man dahil na
Now,
sila dito.
9. Slate 9.
Mia, sabaan
Smile.
kayo
Dr.
ka.
Henove. Smile. Slate 10. There. Slate 11. Almost there. Slate 12. I will admit one who's on the room so she can join. Okay, repeat of slate 12 with Lillian. All right, smile.
Our
Okay,
friends.
all done. Back to you, Jonah.
All right, now we've come to the conclusion of our program. Of course, we thank God for his guidance. And to formally end, may we invite Miss Grace Marie Gador of Colegio de Santa Catalina de Alejandria, and of course, Mr. Carl Joel Tilos of St. Paul's University to offer our closing prayer.
Let us put ourselves in the holy presence of God. Let us pray. Sa ngalan samahan, og sa anak, og sa Espiritu Santo. Amen. Daghang salamat Ginoo sa imong pag-uban kanamo karong adlaw. Sa among pagbiya ning lugara, among pangayoon nga imo kaming bendisyonan aron kami makabalik sa among tagsa-tagsa kapuloy-anan nga luwas sa peligro. Ayaw itugot nga ang among mga nakatunan ug mga panag-istoryahay aning maong panagtigom mapalong. Hinunua, magpadayon kini sa pagsilsil sa among kahiladman ug mamunga kini para sa among mga tahas sa tibuok tuig hangtod kaming magkatigom pag-usab.
Ginoo, nagapasalamat kami kanimo nga imo kaming gitigom karong adlaw. Ug sa kagayunan sa pagpaambit sa mga kasinatian pinaagi sa mga mamumulong. Hinaot nga ang pen ug ang tagsa-tagsa kanamo nga ania karon napukaw. Pinaagi sa mga butang nga gipaambit ug hinaot kini nasulod usab sa among tagsa-tagsa nga kasing-kasing. Kami nag-ampo nga ang tanan nga among gialagaran imong pagabindisyonan.
Among langitnong Amahan, sa ngalan sa among Ginoong Hesukristo, na nagapasalamat kami sa paghatag kanamo ug kahigayunan sa pagkatapos sa among gimbuhaton, inubanan sa dakong kalinaw. Amo nang napaambit ang mga nagkalain-laing kasinatian, pinaagi ning panagtigom, ug hinaot unta nga diha sa among pagpaambit, mamunga kini para makapadayon kami sa pag-alagad sa among tagsa-tagsa katunghaan.
O Ginoo, kining panagtigom karong adlaw magdala unta og maayong bunga sa among kinabuhi ug sa uban. Ayaw itugot nga kining among nakatunan mawala sa among kasing-kasing. Hinunua giyahi kami aron kini magdala kanimo og himaya.
Manggihatagon nga Amahan, salamat na nahimong malampuson ang First Student Teachers Congress. Nga unta ang mga angheles sa langit, magbantay ug himuon nga hapsay ang among pag-aagian.
Nagapasalamat kami sa mga tawo nga imong gigiyahan aron sa pag-andam ug mahimong malampuson kining webinar. Kining tanan among gipanghimo aron puno sa himaya ibalik kanimo. Pinaagi ni Jesus. Amen. Sa ngalan samahan ug sa anak ug sa Espiritu Santo. Amen.
All right, thank you very much, Grace of Cosca, and of course, Carl from St. Paul's University. Now, before we end, may we remind everyone to please take time to answer the survey form for your certificates. And certificates are not auto-sent after answering the evaluation, not in Zoom meeting. Please give us 2 weeks to send your certificates through your email. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the first Student Teachers Congress brought to you by the Philippine Philippine-Kenya Education Network. This has been your host. My name is Jonah Delmo Alar here in the Philippines.
And here in Kenya, we have Madam Gloria Kingo. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless you and welcome in Kenya. Stay safe.
God bless everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You, ma'am.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
God bless
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Jane.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I love you.
Gloria, you should start your organization, Student Teachers, Philippine-Kenya Student Teachers. We have their email addresses, so we can send
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Your
you.
dinner.
Thank you, everyone.